Good evening, everyone. This is the Historic Districts Commission. It is Thursday, November 15th, 2018. Thank you all for coming. We have a full agenda tonight. First piece of business would be voting members. We have Ronnie, myself, Virginia should be on the way, Mike, and I think for the 1007 is a continuation, correct?
No, actually, this is a new application
Okay.
because the other one was a demo.
Okay. So I need to appoint a fifth voting member for the, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. How do you guys want to handle that?
There's nothing continued, so anybody is,
Okay. All right. Can I make this complicated for you?
well, why not?
Sorry.
That's all right, go ahead, I'll just write it down.
You can't be a judge.
Okay. All right. Ben, can you do the first two? 1007 and 137, unless you have a, I'm going to ask about conflicts next.
I don't have a conflict with those two.
Okay, all right. Tomas, could you do the next two?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, Justin, can you do the following two?
I have a conflict with that one.
Okay. Which one, which,
Matt Heffernan?
okay, that's, all right, so,
I know their father very well.
So
okay.
then we're gonna,
So what we'll do is we'll have, can you guys do the last, the last two?
Both of them? So you have Ben on the first two.
Yep.
Thomas is on the second two.
Tomas.
You guys can both do the last on the
Because,
142
Are
South.
You recused on
I'm
the-
recusing on Heffernan.
Okay.
So it would be just Heffernan and Thomas.
Right.
Okay. So we'll have 5 voting members for each one.
Great,
Okay. All right. Sorry for the complication.
that's
And
all
then-
right, I've got it written down.
And then recusals, conflicts, Ronnie on 142. Anybody else have any?
Ben has two.
Okay, which ones?
29 Pleasant Street
Yep.
and also 142 South Street.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, good thing you weren't appointed for that. You would've had
I
to
was going
reshuffle.
to speak up
All right.
before we got too much further.
Okay, good. So we got all those. So I know our first applicant is going to postpone until December, and we have a continuation for that, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So I thought, Andrea and I were talking earlier about a good use of time this evening would be to talk about Tranquility Grove. And also, I think she's got a presentation and an update on the
Preservation.
Preservation Awards, so,
In your packet, you have a number of things, and Ben, feel free to help me out here.
Okay.
Ben has been on this committee, as you probably remember. So let me start out just by talking about Tranquility Grove. This is a book published by the Historical Commission. And this is a book about the Tranquility Grove, the picnic that took place in 1844. It was an abolitionist picnic, and it was attended by thousands of people. And Tranquility Grove, we've discovered, is if you,
And where is that
this Tranquility Grove,
physically, like, geographically?
I'm getting there right now. If you go straight across the street and through the yards on Central Street, you'll eventually get to property that is behind the Hersey Farm, and it was located right in there. So that's, we can't pinpoint the exact location, but We went there with former Chief Mark Duff and Jerry Duff and the Lonnie, our conservation officer, and the entire historical commission went there to look at the, hi Virginia, hey, went there to look at the property, and as near as he could identify, Chief Duff was able to show us. He grew up around there, so.
Is there a marker?
No, not yet. So it's hopefully eventually going to be part of our, our trails plan, and that's on down the road a bit.
At the time, was it a park at the time or a private?
Well, it was actually owned by it was privately owned, and it was a grove of, a beautiful grove of trees. And as I said, there were, actually, there were many well-known abolitionist speakers, including Frederick Douglass.
Oh.
And we had numerous people from Hingham, as well as people who'd come from Boston and other places, took the boat. And so it was sort of like the Woodstock of its day, would you say? Yes. And consequently, the grove apparently, I'm not telling anything that isn't, I'm not telling anything that isn't something, it's not going to ruin this book, but they, you know, everybody there, they had food, they had all sorts of speakers, and so the place did get trashed, a la Woodstock. So but there are so many great details that you will love this book, and we're going to sell it at Town Hall. It'll be available $24.99, I believe. And also, it is going to be at the Historical Society. You can obtain it there. There is a book signing and a presentation on December the 9th. I believe that's Sunday, December the 9th, at 3 p.m. So the book was written by Martha Reardon Buick, who started this off as a kind of a tax work-off project for the commission, and it ended up, she just got so engrossed. And so the Historical Commission is also putting together, working with the schools to put together some modules to, for the children. So anyway, it's just it was a great effort, and so little is known about our involvement, Hingham's involvement.
The Jefferson Starship appeared.
Yeah, there you go. So I hope you will come on
Smoke hung
December
in
the
the air.
9th. I'll remind you again, you have no doubt. And that'll be at 3 p.m. at the Society. We're having a joint opening for this and book signing. Okay, so on to the next thing. And I'm sorry, Virginia, the reason that I'm doing this is because our first applicants are not coming this evening. They've continued to the December 13th meeting.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, so I know.
They're still working on the roof line?
Oh, probably. Nevertheless, but your 1007 will be here. So if I could ask you to please look at this is actually a PowerPoint presentation, which, due to the fact that all of our equipment, our screen, and everything else is being used also upstairs for Community Preservation Committee, I wasn't able to do the PowerPoint tonight, but if you don't mind going through this, that would be just great. So let me just start out, if you could turn to page 1. And I'm sorry for the people at home. This is not as entertaining as it would be if you could see the pictures. But I hope that at least we can run through this fairly quickly, and you see a picture of the actual award right there. that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be porcelain, actually, over steel. I think it's steel.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And as I said before, Ben has been working on this, this project. So, back last December, the Selectman Chairman Healy and our town historian, Alec Macmillan, came to the Historical Commission and asked whether the commission would be willing to take on a preservation award. Paul Healy had been in Charleston and in Savannah and had seen, was very impressed with their historic preservation there and the plaques that people were awarded for maintaining their historic properties. So we actually have it's an 8-member committee, and including, we have Sevi Strukalowski is on there, Mary Morrison, who is a Realtor in town. We have Joyce Schreier, who is, works with a preservation award for the Historical Society, the Brad Sprout Award, and so has been a great contributor. We also have, and Mary Morrison is on the board of the society. We also have Elizabeth Dings, who is on the Historical Commission. So we have 2 commission representatives, Ben and Elizabeth, and Suzanne Buchanan. And am I leaving anybody?
Joan.
Oh my gosh, Joan Brancali,
Yeah.
the brilliant artist who designed this. So not to be left out.
And Ben Wilcox.
And Ben Wilcox. Thank you. I need all the help I can get. So, yes, everybody's been, it's a great group of people, great contributors. So anyway, if we can turn to page 2. Just a little comment, preservation is possible only when a community values the products of its past. Our buildings, neighborhoods, streetscapes, and vistas, the people who built and maintained them, and the events that took place in and around them are our history and are part of our community character. So, page 3 talks about the purpose of the reward, or the award. The purpose is to reward individuals or firms or homeowners through recognition. And so, as I said, property owners, builders, craftsmen, architects, people who've been longtime stewards of building exteriors and interiors, and all who use their skills and talents to preserve Hingham's buildings, streetscape, landscape, and neighborhoods are eligible to be recognized by this, with this award. One of the, you'll see when we get to the categories later, that we have tried to make sure that everyone is included, no matter how you contribute. Hingham's Preservation Award is designed to reinforce the value of preserving Hingham's irreplaceable historic resources by providing information about the benefits of preserving existing buildings to our own local economy, our environmental integrity, to affordability through adaptive reuse of existing housing stock, our community character, and our quality of life. So the next page is really a reiteration. The greenest building actually is the one that's already built. So there is a lot of energy stored in historic buildings, and when we tear them down and build something new, then we're sucking up more energy and using new materials that are manufactured now. Preservation really helps us to maintain our environmental. What?
Good for stewardship.
Thank you, good for stewardship, okay.
Minimizing impact.
Minimizing impact, right. So, move on to the value of preserving Hingham's irreplaceable historic resources can also be demonstrated by highlighting outstanding examples of preservation projects and activities. So it's not just buildings that will be awarded, but this award can be given to people who have promoted historic preservation through various programs that they have supported, ideas that they have, created. We have a number of people in town who've helped preserve Hingham over the years, and without their contribution, we would not be the community that we are. So the two examples here that I've highlighted are, first of all, that's the toy shop on the Hersey Farm on the left, and which was the genesis for the Bucketown book. And the other is the Ames Chapel, of course. So here are the award categories, because there is more than one approach to preservation. The award categories include archaeology and landscape, education and outreach, neighborhood and streetscape, rehabilitation, including adaptive reuse, restoration, both interior and exterior, and new projects. So new projects would allow those who construct an infill building that's appropriate, that would include that kind of a project. Appropriate to the streetscape, is what I'm saying. So projects, activities, individuals, organizations, and companies are all eligible to earn this award. The eligibility criteria: projects must be located in Hingham, and they must have been completed within the last 3 years. Excuse me. The preservation activity that benefits Hingham is ongoing stewardship activity at a particular site and/or advocacy for historic preservation and lifetime achievement. So those are other types of ways that someone can be eligible to earn an award. Nominations submitted previously. Am I in the right page? No, I missed one. Evaluation criteria. Is that where I am?
Correct.
Thank you.
That'll be fine.
The evaluation criteria are, and these don't all apply to each type of project. So a project will be evaluated according to the criteria that apply. So the first is historical and architectural significance of the preserved property, the impact of the project or activity on the preservation of the town's historic resources, the degree to which the project serves as an example of good preservation practices to others, creativity or effectiveness in leveraging a project's educational potential, the degree of difficulty of problems or threats faced, and the creativity and appropriateness of the solutions applied. Design sensitivity to the historic character and fabric of the property, contribution of the project or activity to historic preservation through interpretive design, and where applicable, the degree to which the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties was observed. So nominations, self-nominations are encouraged. People can nominate projects or others, and nominations submitted previously but not selected may be revised and resubmitted. So just briefly, In here, here are all the first is, I think we've got, I hope they're all in there, I don't know.
Yep.
Yes, they are, okay. So here is a nomination form, and these are going to be available beginning in December. And the,
And where would someone get that?
good question. Someone could get that from the town clerk's office, or from the historical commission office, or they could retrieve that from the town website. Thank you. And so I think if you, there are other forms too, there's, but I don't think I have them. Did we, they weren't included in here, I'm sorry. But nevertheless, there is other information that's going to be available, and so the town website is really a good resource. And as I said, that is an example of the plaques. The plaques are actually about this big.
7.5, is that right, 7.5?
I think so, 7.5 inches long by,
And it's an oval.
and it's an oval. So, and our artist, Joan Ripple, did such a wonderful job using the Dwiggins font,
Yep.
so.
So these can be displayed on the house?
Yes, they
Or
can.
where the award was associated with?
Yes, they can, or they can, if people prefer, display them inside. But as I don't know if you were here when I said this, they're going to be porcelain. And that color, the color is actually what is being used.
That's true to its color, yeah.
And these are going to be annual awards, correct?
They are going to be annual. It'll,
And how many awards will be given out?
it depends on the categories in, when people apply.
It could be as many as 6, right?
It could be as many as 7.
7,
If
there's
we
7
get,
categories.
And applicants or nominations in each category, or it could be 1, depending on what the focus is. So this is the first time we're doing this year, and our timeline is to be giving the awards out in April, so that Chairman Healy, who will still be selectman in April, before his term is up, can present the award.
And I noticed that
Yeah.
the date isn't filled in for the,
That is correct, because I just gave you the draft today, so.
Okay.
So, thank you. Did you have a comment?
No, question. Who's on the selection committee?
Well, the selection committee for this first go-around is going to be people from the design committee and others, to be determined. So, and they may not, we're discussing that right now, they may not necessarily be from Hingham, but have an appropriate background so that they can evaluate the applications as they come in.
And is the award committee going forward going to be at the level of the selectmen or another level?
It will be appointed by the selectmen.
So it's a selectmen committee?
Yes, because it is a town award. This is a Town of Hingham award. So, and I think we were talking about a number of different venues where we can host the award ceremony, and that would include any number of our great historic buildings in town, so.
And it will be well advertised.
Yes, and it will be well advertised, and so my hope is that if you have projects that come to mind, or people who come to mind, that it would be wonderful to provide us with a nomination. So, but there'll be more information about that. So I think I've exceeded my time, have I?
You did a wonderful job.
Why, thank you, Ben, you helped.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody, I appreciate the opportunity.
Great idea. Okay, first up is a new application from Peter on 1007 Main Street. The application that we approved last time was for the demolition of the house on the property.
Please have a seat up at the table, and then you can just adjust the microphone accordingly.
And Peter Zaccardi has supplied us with some updated plans for the construction of the new house. So thank you for coming in. Good to see you again.
Oh, thanks for seeing me again.
How you doing?
Very good, thanks.
Good.
So,
So Peter, maybe we walked the property, I think, last month?
yeah,
So,
beginning of October, I believe.
yeah, let us know what your ideas are. We've got the plans, kind of walk us through what your approach, your thinking, and how this is going to be constructed.
Well, I'm attracted to the idea of a three-quarter colonial to begin with, and that's what I started out with on the Main Street side. And then from there, I like the different dimensions going down Blaisdell. The second part is a full two-story, which looks tall compared to the three-quarter, but it's a standard two-story roof. It was kind of challenging to meet all of the, to tie all the ridges in, where you have a difference of dimensions going side to side. So that enabled me to do that. To break it up.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Before we open it up for discussion, let me just ask the audience if there's some questions. Hi, how are you? Do you have any questions at this time, or?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, I'll come back to you then if you have some. Okay. All right. We'd like to start off with some thoughts, and then we can maybe go through the worksheet and give Peter some ideas and where we'd like to see this headed.
I have a question. Sure. The front elevation, Peter, is this what would go alongside Blaisdell?
Blaisdell, yes,
Yeah, not-
the long part of the lot.
Okay, thank you.
I have a larger plan of the land.
Did the footprint change at all since you've
No.
redone the, that's the same?
It shows the existing and the proposed.
Do you want to see this?
The main box of the house is pretty much what's there now, with 2 bump outs and the garage. And there's also a garage present on the property now. If we combined everything together, it would be close to that first floor square footage.
I think, if I could just start with some initial reactions, I think, you know, the way the house sort of starts from Main Street and works its way back, it seems a little strange that the small portion is in the front, and then it comes up, and then it comes down again. Typically, in these scenarios, you're starting with the bigger portion, and then you kind of work your way down towards the back, and maybe there's the barn in the back that's a little bit taller. So right now, the proportions of that front piece on its own are nice. I mean, I think I'd probably look at 2 windows up at the top, just as it fills that facade, but the small portion backed up against the big portion where it drops down again, I think is a little, I don't think it's quite there yet. Did you look at options where the portion in the front maybe was a little bit bigger, and then it sort of dropped down as it got smaller towards the back?
Well, my initial plan I don't know if you still have it, had the same ridge line, and to me, I didn't like how it made the pitch much flatter. So I was trying to mimic the pitch and kind of shadow the front of the house with that. I brought it up earlier because I know it seems rather stock there, but it's a typical two-story height, the second part of the house.
From the front elevation, what second part of the house do you mean?
It would be as you're going down Blaisdell, this
That
portion
section
here,
there,
yeah,
okay.
where the ridge is much higher.
Okay.
And I did that because it's wider, so to keep the same pitch. It's slightly offset because of how it lays out on the lot. If you prefer a traditional two-story front, I could certainly draw that in as well. I thought this would look a little calmer from the street.
I think on its own, it does, because, I mean, you see the versions of that all along Main Street where you have on that, if it's a two-story like you have, there's sort of the two windows, a door, then two windows above. But then the bigger version is three windows, and then maybe a small window above. So you actually have two full stories, and maybe it's a 2.5 story, where it starts to give that front portion a little presence, and then maybe as the house goes further back, it starts to reduce in size that way. Because I think the proportions are a little off to have that front piece so small, and then a big piece, and then it kind of drops down again.
Sure.
I think,
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the septic is also going in the front left portion, so that affected my setback with the immediate front of the house. That was the immediate impact to the plan.
so there's no flexibility to widen that front portion.
No, I could keep pushing it back down Blaisdell. I certainly have enough room to do that. I wanted to leave enough backyard going down Blaisdell, where the lot is very narrow. I wanted to have some yard. So right now, it's roughly a 60, maybe 70 by 80 foot backyard, which would be nice. The further I push back, the further I get away from encroaching on the septic. It's a small system, but it's still there.
But is the width of that first portion, the portion nearest Main Street, affected by the placement of the septic? Or is the septic between the structure and Main Street? I should look at that.
It says septic, I don't think it's shown on the
No,
site plan.
I could circle it on this.
That'd be good.
Yeah, because I think, Michael, I think you're talking about making the elevation nearest Main Street
Wider. And so if you're pushing it back, by pushing it back enables you to make it wider, then maybe that's something to look at, but just to push it back, you still have the same issue, it's just further back from the street, which I don't think changes much.
It's pretty much there, you need 20-foot offset.
So I'll just,
That's why I initially pulled the house back 8
so
feet.
this is the area.
Is there any, have you looked at opportunity for the septic in the back? Is that even an option?
Well, it could be, but when I purchased the property, the plans were in place.
You do it up.
I was kind of working with that. What I could do is shrink down the size of the second phase, which is, I think, what we're talking about right here. If I shrunk that width, then it would lower, it wouldn't look as impactful
But I
to
think
the
it's
front of the
sort
house.
Sort of, it's kind of the big house, little house thing, where it was a big house and then it was sort of added onto as it kind of went.
Yeah, I mean, if I narrow it, the ridge would come down.
By, well, I guess it's hard to see by how much. I think just the simple fact that that portion is bigger than the portion
Sure.
in front is a little, I think is a little off.
From the front elevation, Mr. Zaccardi, that second volume you discussed, I think that interrupts the rhythm of the house. I think you're close, but it stands out as more of a main section because of its height, because it's a main section, and its height doesn't match its width in proportion. Now, I know a picture like this doesn't do it 100% justice because there's many other shadow lines and other things. However, my concern would be the height of that particular ridge in such a narrow space. And I think what Michael has brought up, maybe combining those two, getting more width out of it, would make more sense.
Make the first part wider?
Well, I believe, Michael, you're talking about...
Yeah.
So it has a greater presence from Main Street.
Sure.
I wonder how the proportions would work out so that this whole piece in the front is one big,
I could do that
larger
easily.
portion, and then you work with the facade where you have, the three windows, and then a small window up top, and there's lots of those examples along Main Street.
Sure.
That I think you could call from. Maybe it's not as wide as that portion in the back, but I think maybe it's somewhere in between the small version and the big version. And then you may get more of your, more square footage in that piece in the front, just by doing that.
That could easily be done.
Michael, two windows on the second floor underneath the gable.
I think in this small version, if it were to stay that way, you'd do the two windows door and then two windows at the gable. But I think if you were to do this as the 2.5-story version, you'd do two windows, a door, three windows, and then a small window up top.
A window in the attic space?
Yeah. And it could be a 2.5-story.
So a full colonial height.
Essentially, yeah, but it may narrow that wider portion down a little bit. I think you'd have to study those proportions with the windows.
What Ben and Justin and Michael are saying is, when you come down Main Street, make that the prominent
Sure.
part of the house that you really see, you notice.
So you don't care if this ridge is lower than that ridge?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
No, and so Michael and Ben, you're talking about combining these two volumes into one grander volume.
A study of that, and that would, I think that's going to help the rhythm
Sure.
from...
What I'd like to do to make it interesting is to, the first level, come out with a 6-pitch roof just for the first floor, for maybe 3 feet. Like we see here.
Right, on the box bay.
Yeah.
So bring that box bay all the way across on the front elevation?
Just on the second level right here. Leave that the same. And have this just the first floor level.
Oh.
Little bump out, to make it more interesting.
Yeah, so you have you have a bay on the side. Yeah.
The other thing I'd say, Peter, is it would be great to get some separation between the garage and the house. So if you had some type of a connector here between the house and the garage, maybe it's just a 1-story, maybe it's 1.5, to give you some separation there. So you have kind of this step down as you kind of go to the back, and then you have a breezeway or a small connector between the main house and the garage, so it doesn't seem so it's as massive. You know what I mean? It's you can still access the garage, maybe you have some stairs if you want to have a room up there on the second floor, through the garage or whatever. But it gives you, it kind of breaks up the components a little bit.
Yeah, with the floor plan, that was the master bedroom above the garage. So that's the stairway area to get there. I kind of tried to do that with the porch and then the small first floor roof over the porch to make it not as significant as the rest. But just to traverse from the second floor all the way to the garage.
Yeah, it looks like the ridge goes right across to this cupola that's over the, it's just it's a way to kind of, you can kind of draw the eave into here somewhere, and then you have your, we can see this roof line here of the garage area. So it's not one ridge going straight across. Just a thought. The other thing I would encourage you to do is just keep things as simple as you can with this design. You don't have to go over the top and to make things really intricate. It's just a simple, gable, Main Street facing house.
And how do you feel about the cupola?
I guess it depends upon which way the drawing goes, which way you're headed. And I guess I'd have to see the next iteration of this to kind of have a feeling on it.
I typically don't use cupolas, but
Yeah.
I just figured it would just make it a little more interesting.
Yeah. But I think I think if you drop down that ridge a bit, you might not even need the cupola. It just could stand on its own.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it could stand on its own, it seems. It seems like a little bit of an afterthought.
Exactly.
But, just kind of minimize the number of, roof lines and, roof elements that you have and angles and just, I think simple works really well here.
Yeah, headroom is an issue also.
But if you start a little bit higher from the front, like others have suggested, you might have all the headroom that you need on that second floor. You could have some cathedral ceilings. If it's 2.5 stories, at the front, and then kind of works its way down, you have plenty of headroom. Especially if you maybe have an attic in the front, but you make use of the basement, and you can have cathedral ceilings on the second floor if you wanted. Soaring ceilings.
Yeah, I was planning on this being cathedral
Yep.
as well as the master,
Yep.
and even the front part being cathedral. Just for shadow lines and on the inside.
Did you have some?
Well, no, I'm appreciative of the comments commission members have made. My take on this is to look at what you're doing in the context of the setting, which is quite simple. I'll say petite, but I don't know that that's the best word for it. But, I think whatever you do, given the setting, it's a small lot facing Main Street, elongated along Blaisdell, all simple. Main Street, the facade is simple. Blaisdell, the facade, I think, should be simple given what it is. I don't think the tail should wag the dog, so to speak, in terms of Main Street, so that, for example, what others have suggested in terms of the embellishments, I think should be kept rather simple. I think even separating the garage so that it doesn't look like a big, long train of a house would be important. I mean, I think cupolas are terrific, but I'm not sure for this property that's what's really needed in terms of where the garage is, so that I think the simplicity could be the elegance of this new building, frankly.
Start with the roof forms, and that'll kind of lead you to some very simple designs with the overall house.
What are the exterior materials that you're proposing in terms of siding and trim and windows?
It's either clapboard or cedar shingles. They both go well with that period look. I saw a lot of three-quarter colonials going through Situate and Hingham as well, especially in 228, so it was kind of mimicking that with the front of this house. Typically clapboard,
Yeah.
late 1800s, mid-1800s. Traditionally, the kids just kept going back. And with additions, so usually they weren't totally uniform with the immediate front of the house. So where this lot was so elongated, I kind of mimicked that with the plan. That's why it keeps going. And with today's living, the master is always on top of the garage.
Yeah.
So I have to look at that end of it as well. So you have to get from here, A to B. I can certainly lower some roof lines, and the cupola, again, it's a five and dime thing to me. I could care less if I put it on or not. And like I said, I never use them, but it's thought maybe somebody might like it.
Do you have a chimney plan for, is there a fireplace and a chimney and?
I haven't put a chimney in years now, just because of the new stretch codes.
Yeah.
Kind of limits the ambiance of things like that.
Right.
You know, they make it difficult. You have to bring the air in to replace the draw, so.
Yeah, okay.
If there is one, it'll just be a gas, and it's not going to be a bump out. It'll just be a, you'll see the exhaust, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
So it won't look like a gas fireplace.
What does the commission think about the 2/1 windows? You know, any comments on that?
And these are simulated divided light or true divided light?
Simulated, probably 400 series, which I like to use because there's a wide choice of colors. And that's one question I want to bring up, is Route 228 totally white, or you open to black windows?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done different types. I guess, is that a clad window or is that a wood window?
What's that?
You said the 400.
Anderson 400 series, yeah.
That's a clad unit.
Is a clad unit?
Yeah.
I think we want a simulated divided light on a new construction.
Simulated divided light, but I don't know, have we ever done clad windows
No.
on
No.
new construction?
No, we've done an all-wood. There's some manufacturers that do an all-wood window that's also simulated divided light, so you'll get the thermal.
I think you've got some flexibility with the color, correct, Andrea, with new
Oh, sure.
construction? So, you know, could be white if you want, but if you want to do another color, you can.
Okay.
We do have a color palette that you can look at. They're colors that are specific to New England, so.
Asphalt roof?
Yes,
Asphalt roof.
Wood trim?
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I was out of the room for a while. Have we heard from the abutters? Yeah.
I asked, but we can come back again if there are any questions.
Yes, shall I just speak up or come to the microphone?
Yeah, please come to the mic, and I'm sorry, I forget your name. Hey, Henry.
Oh, that's all right. I can,
Oh, this is great. So there's some discussion about widening the part of the house that will face Main Street, and then making the lines a little cleaner, and then perhaps separating the garage. And we agree with Peter that his new owner should have a nice big backyard that butts up against our property. A real small backyard with a master bedroom blocking the shade, blocking our little garden there wouldn't be the nicest thing. So we like the floor plan, the coverage the way it is now, and when you push it back further towards our property, it'll get a little darker on our garden. So that would be one thing to talk about. Frankly,
The one thing is that our bedroom also faces that
you need to
direction.
speak in.
yeah.
Our bedroom also faces that direction, so the closer it is, the closer they're going to be able to see what we're doing.
And I don't know, every once in a while. There we are. And then the other thing is, there are, speaking just about Blaisdell, there are some other houses that have interesting back and forth and twists and turns along Blaisdell. As far as neighbors on Blaisdell, we don't mind the extra, whatever the architectural features are, the extra wood, the roof line and so forth. So the presentation on Blaisdell looks just fine to us now. I get that there's a cleaner line that maybe fits in historically. But as far as our aesthetic, we don't need to have the changes on the Blaisdell side.
I was curious, because I know a number of New England houses have attachments, as families have expanded, and a number of times there has been an attachment to a barn in the back, which is what I thought Peter was doing with the attachment with his garage, just to give that continuity. And what I'm hearing is that you feel that it's simpler. So I'm wondering, is that a justification because it doesn't fit in with the city style, and this is a more rural style where there is the attachments onto the house?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of ways to look at how different Ls and additions and things get added on, and just on the Blaisdell side, we don't mind. When you go up and down the street, you can see any number of different wonderful configurations, although they're not in the historic district.
Yeah.
And the cupola might have been nice with holiday lights. What do you think? Orange at Thanksgiving? So, but anyway, I'm kidding on that. But yes, a more backyard would be wonderful for us. And frankly, the Blaisdell side, I don't think abutters have, and for the other neighbors, I don't think we have any problem with how it looks. It won't stick out on Blaisdell.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the size of the yard he has is really nice. I think if you pushed it back more, they're going to have very little space, especially if they have kids and they want to put a swing set eventually or something like that. I would consider, giving them a little larger backyard because the plot is so narrow.
The Beagleys who live just one north on Main Street have a backyard that goes all the way. And it's been wonderful to watch their kids grow up. So we don't mind at all having the swing set and the kids running around and whatever it is. It's actually pleasant. So, and the neighbors that way. So a nice backyard would be fun.
So, just some clarification on the backyard setback. The way it's drawn right now, it looks like it's about 60 feet off the back line. There's a shed that's there right now, which I believe we've approved you to demolish that. But, even if this were to go back 10 feet, it still wouldn't be back to where that shed is right now. So it would still leave 50 feet worth of backyard between your house and property, even if it was slid back 10 feet to accommodate for the
We
front.
get that of right and of setbacks and so forth, there's any number of things that are possible. It would just be our preference, like
Okay.
you said, have a bigger backyard.
I got you.
We agree.
Okay. And what are the requirements for setback between the septic and the house?
It's 20 feet
Is it 20 feet from all,
from the field,
from the
10
field?
feet from the tank.
10 feet from the tank. Is the tank the issue, or is the field the issue?
It's the field where I have, it's the field with, you can see where the bump out is.
Yeah.
Right there, it's that corner. That's why I'm sliding it back.
Okay.
Even if I only came out 3 feet with the bump out, I would still have to slide it back.
Okay.
But
All right. See what your engineer can come up with in terms of, working with the existing footprint, coming out a bit more,
Yeah.
or sliding back, so.
as far as the house itself, money-wise, it's cheaper for me to build it as you suggested, to tell you the truth. But, the rest rakes, the cheaper it is. And, guaranteed headroom as well. I just want it to look simple from the street and then carry on.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind marking up, you could use my set, between here and the garage, what you'd like to see for a roof, because I wasn't quite sure.
In terms of the, something that's like this, I'm not an architect, but I was just thinking about, something like that. Drop down a little bit between the two. Just depends upon the pitch of the roof, I guess, if you want to put the roofs or not.
I don't understand what you're,
I was just trying to add a connector and.
so is this is empty up here, or is that what you're saying?
Maybe it's empty. I'm just trying to give a little space
Sure.
between the,
You're essentially cutting that portion of the roof out.
Yeah.
And so you could still have master bedroom up here, but somehow you need to get a stair
Yeah.
in this portion
What if
to get up.
you look at the floor plan, you can see that's the reason for all that, but,
Yeah, that's where you've got your stair in there now.
and that's serving the whole house, that set of stairs.
Maybe there's a way to drop this ridge down a little bit to give a little more space, and still get us, maybe there's a possibility of a stair inside the garage area. We've seen that before.
And I think your intent is to break this roof line a little bit more between, you have, let's assume this piece got up to be here, the next portion of the house, and then there's a little bit of a break, and then this comes back up again.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You may be able to get some of these elements in that area into this master bedroom. The bedroom's 28 feet wide. A bed, king size bed, right, is not going to fill that space anywhere near the 28 feet. So you may be able to get some of these elements that are out.
Right. I have to get by the master bathroom.
Right. You got a walk-in closet there. Those could get brought in.
Or at least down here somewhere.
It's here or something. So just.
28 by 24 is great room size.
You could do, just looking for something that, you start out high, drops down a little bit for your midsection, maybe drops down again for the connector, so you're just taking some of the roof mass away, and it creates a, you know, a little bit of a gap up here where, you know, you can see, trying to get a little distance between the garage and the house itself. So there's, you know, there's a connector here, this kind of, some sort of connector.
Yeah, that's the main track to get from one side to the other,
Yep.
and up.
Maybe the stair can go in here or something to, you know, get into this part of the house.
And it has to serve the other side as well.
There's a lot of examples up and down Main Street and then on some of the side streets where these gable facing the street homes have been kind of built over the years, and there might even be a garage that, you know, is even connected now somehow with a connector.
I know a lot of times it's like walking to a bedroom to get to another room, and it's, you know, it's, you can't even call it a bedroom at that point. So that's the problems I come across. And that's what people are totally against when they look at a house. It's a non-conforming room to them.
What's the, is this a 3 or a 4 bedroom lot?
3 bedroom.
3 bedroom lot. So, you know, you're constructing a 3 bedroom house, right? Or are you going to have like a bonus room? Is that?
Well, it's a living room on the second floor. It's wide open with the cathedral ceiling. It's kind of the focal point of the Blaisdell side. Because on the first floor, that's opposite the kitchen. So that gives that feel of what today's buyers want. They want to, so you're walking through the, kind of the passive hallway, but, you know, you're walking through that to get from the living room to the kitchen, but it's all one at the same time. And you get your good morning staircase coming down, which is pleasing to the kitchen.
Well, maybe the ridge height on the connector is, it's a second floor. You know, there's enough headroom to walk through, but it just drops down a bit from the main house.
Sure.
Somehow. So, you know, work with your architect and see if you can come up with something that would.
But that could be 3/4, and everything else be traditional 2-story farmhouse.
Right, and then you go up again as you go into the master bedroom in the back.
Yeah, we could do 3/4 there and then run a simple ridge down the whole first 2/3 of the house.
Yeah, you see how I just kind of dropped it down a little bit for each section?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the width of the house determines.
Yeah, and maybe it's
That.
just a foot that it drops.
Sure.
That it drops down, but it just takes the that straight ridge line from front to back out of the equation.
Okay.
Again, if you want to send some drawings, you know, Andrea before the next meeting,
Sure.
you know, she can give you some guidance in terms of, you know, direction and kind of give you some signals on, you know, where the board may.
Anytime.
Sure. Of course, I'm looking at time-wise, the first floor. Are you okay with the first floor the way it sits now?
So for me, I'm just not clear on the direction you're going to go with the septic. If you need to widen the front, that footprint's going to change. So that floor plan that you have now in front of us is probably not the floor plan you're going to go with. That foundation's going to have to be different if you go with a wider front.
To do what you want.
Yeah. But if you run into some septic issues, maybe we need to go back and reevaluate them.
Did you say that the system was already engineered?
Yeah,
Yes.
Right. So
I took over,
after the engineering was done on the
Right.
system? So maybe there were some perk tests done in the back?
No.
Towards the back? None? No sites? Okay.
I just don't want the septic to drive what this house looks like. That's the only thing that I'm struggling with.
well, if I keep pushing it back, we can do whatever you want. But certainly I want to be okay with my neighbors as well.
Yeah, I mean, if, it just looks from the drawings, if you were to go back 10 feet, push everything back 10 feet to give yourself enough room with a septic, you'd still have a 50-foot backyard. Is that enough? Is a 50-foot backyard for what you want and what your intentions are, is that enough? 50 by 50, I mean, you're going to have to come to
Well,
that.
it's a beautiful street, but the more you screen the house away from it, people still see it as a main road. So, as far as that goes, it would be more attractive. But,
And maybe with the way the septic is, maybe you only have to go back 5 feet, I don't know. Not sure.
I think it would be very interesting to see what, if you did combine these two volumes, what kind of movement back. Doesn't seem like a lot, it's hard to say, but I think the beneficial impact from what I think the commission is looking for, combining those volumes and achieving some of the simplicity that Virginia was suggesting,
Right.
you get a lot of benefit, I think, from my perspective, beneficial impact from that.
yeah, I've already moved it back from where the house sits right now, so.
Take a look at where the shed is right now, and just imagine that's where the edge of the house is, and see if that's enough property in the back, that's a big enough backyard. And maybe it's somewhere in between, maybe it's half of that, I don't know where this is gonna come out. Maybe you can just, shorten the length of the overall house, perhaps. So.
I think,
Any thoughts, Andrew?
no, the next hearing is on December the 13th, the next
Okay.
meeting. So if we continue to then, and if you want to just drop by any sketches or whatever, just come on in and we'll just talk about it.
Yeah,
I think
I won't have anything on CAD immediately,
that's fine.
but I'll have to sketch it out first and then
Okay,
tweak it out with my engineer and
so just
architect.
come on by and we can go.
Sure,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
I have one other thing, as everything else has been mentioned. Can I have a rear elevation as well? I know you can't see it necessarily, it's going to be facing the neighbor, but you will still be able to see it from Main Street when you look in. So since we have a front elevation, can I also have a rear elevation?
Yeah, side elevation, yeah. Yeah, it was all determined on, it's just a matter of tying everything in.
Right.
So once we get all the other three, then I can just connect the lines,
Okay.
so.
But just so that we have an idea of window placement and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
I mean, I know we have it.
Typically, that's where all the
on the
bathrooms
floor
are
plans
and things,
so on
so
and so forth, but
the windows won't be the same heights and, of course, things like that. You'll be looking at a shorter window in the bathroom
yeah.
for privacy.
And actually, I
Yeah,
think that's
no,
what Thomas.
I totally understand that. But
So you're not
here
looking
I
at
have
it from
three
the street.
sides. I'm missing the fourth side.
Right. I can't connect the fourth until we get the three of them nailed down,
Okay,
so, it's all money.
okay. That's fine, but on the next drawing, if we can have it, or the following one before. Does that make
You want to
sense?
see all four sides?
I want to see all four sides. You're giving me Main Street, which is the left side elevation, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a front elevation to that.
No, the front elevation is Main Street.
Right, but you're calling it the front elevation.
Blaisdell is the side.
Just call it Blaisdell side, that's fine. But something to the rear of this, so that we have an idea of how all of these windows are sitting in the back.
Thomas, you're talking about the side that would be facing,
That is correct.
No,
No, this,
Well, it would be
this says
facing,
front.
it'll be
facing the Cape on Main
Street.
This says front on the drawings.
Right, and it's Blaisdell.
1011 Main Street. Right?
would be,
That's what it, that's the
Okay.
side it would be facing.
okay.
Does it make any
Sure.
difference if they have a large picket fence there?
I think we
Okay?
need to,
Yeah, we need to keep it going. Please drop in and see Andrea if you have any questions.
sure.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Very good.
Thank you.
thanks.
thank you.
Okay, sorry for the delay. Next up is 137 Main Street.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey, how are you? How's it going? Thanks for coming in. So the Ripples would like to remove some windows and replace them with two double-hung windows, correct?
Correct.
So we have the drawings in front of us, thank you. You wanna just walk us through what the scope of the
Do you
project
have
is?
a copy of your plans? You wanna-
Yes, it's at home.
Hey, you can use mine.
It's emblazoned in our memories.
We probably don't really even need it, but we just have 3 casements in our the front of the house, which obviously are probably 1970s or 80s. And we just want to get rid of one and replace the other 2 with double hungs, so we're more consistent with the historic look. That's it.
Any questions from the audience? Questions from the board?
I have a question. The double-hung windows that you're putting in the sill in particular, will the sill be matching the same size, the same thicknesses as the existing windows there? Is that the intent?
I'm not sure. Sally Weston did all the details. I should be in there.
Yeah, I thought she was designing it to be consistent.
The openings are going to be the same, correct?
Yes.
Wood, true divided light windows?
Marvin windows.
Okay. Mike, any questions?
Nope.
Anybody else? No?
I think it makes a lot of sense.
That's what we figured. You probably don't want to see the casements on Lower Main Street, so we figured this was going to be easy.
I drove by today, I'm just wondering how they came in the first place.
I wondered that myself.
Probably the commission didn't exist at that time.
Of course,
Dark
yeah.
at night.
Yes, right, dark of night. Yep, but that was it.
Make a motion?
Oh, yeah, sure. Other questions? I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness, 137 Main Street, to replace 2 existing casement windows. That's 3?
One's eliminated.
Right. No, just 2.
Replacing 2 and removing 1.
Yes, right, correct.
Replacing 2 existing casement windows, replacing it with a Marvin brand all-wood double-hung window, as indicated on A 1.1 plan. Third casement window to be removed completely and closed in with clapboard siding to match existing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Sorry for the wait.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Good luck. Thank you, Andrea.
Okay, next is the Roberts residence. How are you? Recall, last time we talked about changes to the garage we approved about a year ago.
Right.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Would you like me to go over the changes
Yeah, just
one more
walk us
time?
through the drawings real quick, that'd be great.
Sure. So the first page, A1.5, it was a page that I added with Andrea after our last meeting, so you might not have
It
it.
should be there.
It's possible it's in the back, yeah, that's the one, A1.5. Shows the change in ridge height from the previously approved drawings of the garage. There, yeah, it's the one that shows the house, it's a view from Pleasant Street. You've got it there. So changing the pitch from a 9 to a 10 increases the height by 9 inches.
Right, Alex?
Correct. Yep, that's it. And then there was a change in location of the front wall of the garage, making it longer. And that was moving the, I believe it's the north-facing facade 1 foot 9 inches, I believe. Yes, 1 foot 9 inches towards Pleasant Street. And then the final change was a trim detail change on the north and the south elevations, where I added a box return as well as a freeze on the rake.
Can I ask why you're doing the changes to the trim?
I
Simple
felt
trim just sort of went through the house, I thought.
it does. It does match the trim of the house. It's a lower pitch roof on the house, significant. I think it's a 6.
Right.
I just felt that the roof line looked a little bit slim with the flying rake without box returns. And by adding box returns, I can put a freeze there now because it'll terminate on the box return.
Right.
And it'll thicken it up a little bit, make it a little bit more heavy. I just thought it looked weak, and I like the look of the heavier roof line a little better.
Okay.
Virginia, anything?
Nope.
Good? Good. Like, you want to do the motion on this one?
I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 29 Pleasant Street for modifications to originally approved garage. The modifications are indicated in drawings dated October 24, 2018. Modifications include increasing the ridge height to 21 foot 4 inches, modifying the roof pitch to 10 to 12, extension of the front facade by 1 foot 9 inches, and modification of certain details as indicated.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, that's coming
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, 18 North Street. This is for a very unique business sign and an application for notice.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this.
All right, Virginia, we'll miss you. Thank you.
I'll be there.
Okay. Josh, right? Yep. Okay. Good to see you guys.
Hey, thanks.
So we have a copy of the sign that you'd like to install. And why don't you walk us through the plans for the shop?
For like the inside of the shop?
No, just like, what are you thinking?
What you're doing for the outside.
Yeah.
Oh, for the outside, what, like the sign? So it's gonna be that sign there, Hingham Barber Company. And I was able to locate, I had initially inquired about a barber pole, so on here, here's a picture of what it would look like superimposed on the building.
Yep.
So I initially inquired about your putting a barber pole right here, one that lights up. I was informed that that might not work, so I was able to locate like an antique barber pole.
Okay.
That's solid wood.
Okay.
I forget the exact dimensions, I think it's a little over 3 feet. It's pretty, there you go. Yeah, that's it right there.
So it's 3 feet, and where are you gonna put this?
So that would go almost, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Right next to the sign there. Yeah, here's the sign.
Yeah.
So it would go right here above that line.
Okay, so just the left of the door.
Yeah, because down low, you can't really see it. There's a lot of cars parked there to go to Tosca, so you can't really see it.
Okay.
So I was thinking up there, but it doesn't light up. It's wood, you know, from the 1800s.
And so are these two barber poles, are they gonna be removed, or?
No, that's actually like, those aren't really, yeah, that's part of the sign. They're not like barber poles. They're just kind of like carved on there. It's like part of, they're like carved, it's like part of the sign.
You're gonna have this one too, right?
Yeah, I would like to. That's a money issue for me right now. This guy charges a lot for signs.
That's nice work.
He does. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to, I would have eventually liked to put that there. I don't really have the funds for that right now. So.
Okay, so that's to be determined if you
Yeah.
want to do that later.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So, one of our commission members did a lot of work on barber poles
Yeah.
since our last meeting. Justin, you want to give us a little bit of history on barber poles so we
Just out
understand
of
this?
curiosity, I had to look up why do barber poles look this way, and it turns out it's
I could
got-
tell you.
Did you?
I know, yeah.
But it turns out they were used to both indicate, there'd be signage to indicate, you know, literally a barber shop and sometimes a doctor's.
Barber surgeon, yep.
Barber surgeon.
Yeah.
And I was curious about the blue and the red and the white stripes and the round bowl shape. It used to be bowls on the top of the pole.
Yeah.
Was where the doctor would keep leeches.
Yeah.
And then the bowl underneath would collect the blood that was being let. And the blue stripe apparently was supposed to be a reference to veins.
Yeah,
The
that's
red
right.
was arteries and the white
That
was
is true.
veins. And that's all. I don't think that bears on our.
I will not be doing any bloodletting.
No bloodletting.
Not on purpose, anyway.
But it's an interesting history.
Yeah,
There's a lot of breadth to our knowledge on this commission.
yeah,
You know, we're not just about buildings
right.
and streetscapes.
I got you.
So, thanks, Justin. Any other questions, comments?
Nice sign.
Thank you.
How many barber shops are there in Hingham?
There are 4 right now that I know of, but none like me.
You're going to be the 5th.
I am.
And you're going to put us over the top.
I think so. I really do. This guy's got a good haircut.
I don't, but maybe I will, you know? But why change a good thing?
This is awesome.
When you open your doors,
Yeah.
we're all coming.
We're all
Good.
coming.
I'm really good, man. I'm really, really good.
All right. Any other questions about the signs, this sort of thing? Voting members are us 5. Justin, would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 18 North Street to approve a Hingham Barber Company's sign as indicated in drawings dated October 29, 2018. We see a sign mounted on the front of the facade. Will we approve the hand-carved hanging double-sided sign, depending on
We'll just wait on that.
Mr. Lawrence? We'll wait on that?
Yeah, so the motion does not include that sign.
The motion does not include the hanging double-faced sign does include the proposed hand-carved dimensional sign on, let's see, is there a drawing number?
It's page 4.
Page 4.
Or in the back.
Page 4 in the package. And we approve the mounting of antique barber pole on the- to the left of the door. I guess it's above the light. Above the light.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
See you guys there. All right, thank you. See all you guys.
Bye-bye.
All right. I like that. Okay. Next up is 142 South Street. This is for the removal of a chimney
Recusing myself.
on the building.
Mr. Chairman.
I am Tom Turner.
Okay.
Sarah Scales. She's a designer, I'm the builder.
Okay.
We're representing the Heffernans here tonight, Matt and Kate. They couldn't make the meeting. Matt was just a little background on them. Matt, the family was, they raised their family in Hingham, 13 years. He got moved to Cayman Islands for 3 years for his job. They bought a house, moving back, they bought a house on South Street, and they couldn't make the trip tonight, so we said we'd go in their place. So basically, Sarah's been going through a lot of the design and the interior, and they really want to make a lot more use of the third floor of the house. And right now, it's really, you can't even you couldn't get this chair up the stairs. So, they want to put a bath up there and a bedroom and a rec room for the kids and things like that. So, in order to get a decent staircase up there, the existing chimney right now interferes with that. The chimney is not being used. There's no fireboxes on the chimney. It's basically, I looked in the basement. I go, like, what holds this chimney up? It's 2 square posts, they're like brick, 16 by 16, 4 feet apart and 2 feet off center. But somehow they got through the whole house, and by the time they go out the roof, they went out the roof with like a 2 by 3 chimney. And so, it's really, and Sarah can go into a little bit more detail, but it's kind of blocking us and blocking them to do what they wish to do with the house. So that's where we're at with that one. There is another fireplace chimney that was built, probably, and we have some pictures I can pass around, but it's really the statement of the house. It's not this little chimney that comes off the roof. It's this other one that goes along the whole side of the house. It's got, it's pretty fancy. So
Towards the end of the house.
Excuse me?
It's towards the end of the house.
Yeah, it's towards the end of the house. I did throw a couple of packets together too, just give you a little bit more. So,
Great, thank you.
on page 1, I just kind of leaned up and took a picture of, this is the back view. I'm looking up over the roof. I didn't really have a ladder with me today, but anyways, that's the chimney. It's, it doesn't look anything special to me, but I don't even know if it's original to the house. It probably is, the downstairs is definitely the way they built it. It'd be not cost effective to build it this. So page 2 is basically a picture of the third floor as it is now, and that box you see on the right-hand side, all of that is the chimney. So the chimney takes up like 3 by 8 going through the roof of the house. Wow. So it really limits our access to put a bath up there or even go down that hallway. It's less than 2 feet wide. Page 3 is the staircase starting from the existing staircase to the third floor. It's 18.5 inches to go up a winding staircase to get up there. And then page 4 is what was allowed for them to be built, I think, in the 80s, late 80s, which I think is more of a statement chimney than the little one coming up through the roof. So,
And this chimney is the one in this?
correct,
image here?
correct, correct.
And you're proposing to remove both chimneys? Or
Well,
just-
it's just that one chimney. I have to remove...
Not this one.
Oh, not that
Just
one,
this
just that one. Just page 1. Yeah, picture on the first page. I just included the other one, so really, we're not going to leave the house with nothing. I mean, that's what you see driving down the road is page 4. That you would see if you were entering towards town, coming from Percy Street. So that's, you know, that's our dilemma right now, and just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on it and see where you were with it.
Sarah, did you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, well, I was going to say the stair right now is just so narrow. It's not only not safe, but you can't even get furniture up it, so their entire third floor is not usable right now. And so to rebuild the stair to be in code, you have to come up to a certain head height, and you can only reach that head height in the middle of the house because of the pitch of the roof. And just the architecture on the second floor below for the stair to connect those two floors, it just requires that the stair come right up to exactly where these chimneys are. So I have some plans to kind of...
Just kind of show you the footprint of how much this thing takes up on that third floor. And, you know, there's a...
This is existing where the chimney is, and then on the next page, you can see where I put our new stair, and that's exactly where the chimney is. So if the chimney is not moved, the new stair, safer and built to code, would not really work. And I did provide other floor plans on the following pages, just for reference. They're not totally relevant. So the first and second floor are not really impacted by this change. It's really all about having safe access to this third floor.
And the chimney is not being used right now. It's, everything's direct vented out the side, so there's no, like I said, if there was a firebox to it, that's been blocked off over the years, so there's really there's no fireboxes through the whole house to this.
So if for some reason we desperately wanted to keep the exterior look, you could tear the chimney out from the inside and put a fake little chimney on
100%.
top.
Yeah, we would just
100%.
replace it exactly as it looks.
I don't know how strongly we feel about that, but just to conceptually understand
No, yeah,
what we're
absolutely.
talking about.
Yep, that would definitely be an option, and we would build it the way you guys would want to, as far as materials and things like that.
Could you remove everything on the inside and somehow support what's there without
You know, I thought about
taking it
that.
down?
I don't have the house apart, I mean, that doesn't look like a lot, but, you know, that's got I would guess it's, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 pounds. I'm just not sure how you take everything out from below and then try to support that. I'd rather take it all out and then rebuild that, support the top and then rebuild it on a support, you know, get some LVL, you know, headers and beams in there, and then build it off of that. I just don't see it feasible to take it all down and leave that top there. I just think it's a little dangerous.
And so you don't see it from this view, right? I mean, you're seeing it from...
You can't see it when you're standing in front of the house, but you can see it approaching the house on the left and approaching the house on the right. But if you're standing on South Street, you can't see it, because the house sits up on it sits up on a good-sized hill from South Street. Like, you don't see it in the pictures. We're actually standing in the front yard, but if you were standing down at South Street, you wouldn't be able to see the chimney standing right in front of the house. From the left and the right, absolutely, you could see it.
It's visible from the street.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And what does it look like on the first floor? Is there a fireplace?
No, there's no...
It's all boxed?
It's all boxed in. You know, like I said, this chimney is mounted on two 16-inch piers in the bottom, and the part that kills me is they're 4 feet apart and 2 feet offset. So, I don't know how they twisted it and then went out the roof. Well, I opened up this attic, and you can see both chimneys coming up like this, and then they built this wood A-frame, and they lay on the A-frame, and they connect, and then they go out.
So another way to make that stair work would be to dormer on the back side of the house to meet code with the stair, but we just felt like that was the less favorable option, because that would obviously be more visible than just taking down the chimney and replacing it with some. So we felt like that it would be ideal to work within the constraints of the original structure, as opposed to like, you know, proposing to kind of dormer out and do something that would really affect the integrity of the design of the house. So,
What's the room going to be here?
a guest room for the in-laws. It's like an in-law suite and office.
Are there other options for putting a staircase in and having a hallway that kind of goes circular around the chimney itself, where you can really see the facade of the chimney from the third floor and kind of...
It really becomes a head height issue, because the ceiling height is not very...
She's dotted in.
Not,
Yeah,
it's not high on the third floor, obviously, so if you were to walk around, you know, the roof starts to pitch down, so even a corridor, in the pictures that he's included, that corridor is literally like 23 inches wide, so...
Yeah, picture 2.
See the ceiling coming down, I mean, so that's kind of what they have right now. And also, you'll see that the side of that stair, there's probably like a foot that over, you know, that coincides with where the chimney is. So it just doesn't work with the required dimensions of a stair.
What's the age of the house?
1855.
You think it's original? Probably is original?
I'm guessing, I don't know if I can't imagine that the top hasn't been worked on just from over years and what they used to use for, you know, for mortar and things like that, but as far as coming through the house, yes, I would say that would be, I would guess it's original to the house. I don't know about what comes through the roof, though. I mean, how many years is that, 200 years old? So it could have been repointed down the line, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I chatted with Andrea earlier about, you know, precedent for chimney removal, the commission, given its, you know, we view this as an important architectural feature of these homes.
Yep.
And we don't have a whole lot of precedent for taking these chimneys down. I think that's kind of why the line of questions you're hearing is so. It's a little bit of a struggle on our end to kind of get to where you are to take this down. You know, we see clapboards removed and replaced. We see windows removed and replaced over time. But these are, you know, the chimneys are a feature that's built to stand the test of time, you know, with the brick. So it's if there's a way to get up there for these folks without taking it down, I think that would be our preference. Certainly would be my preference.
And that would, they don't even want to go through the cost of taking this down. I mean, it's not going to be, you know, I got to open up all the walls all the way through the house to take it down. So they're not really, you know, they're not. This is really our last resort. I mean, Sarah's kicked these plans around on the design, trying to get a staircase, and you have to work with the staircase coming from the first to the second floor as well. And there's a huge foyer at the top there where we could, you know, put this staircase in without disturbing that much of the house. But, yeah, they'd rather not take it down as well. But, you know, literally the rise to the staircase going up, some of the rises are 11 inches.
What would happen if you unboxed it and exposed the brick to the inside of the home? Just take away all the sheetrock and you know, whatever lumber is wrapping around it. Is any sense of what's underneath there? Maybe it might be a nice feature.
It's not, and I have some pictures on my phone. I got into the wall. I was thinking, it's basically, like I said, that 8-foot box you see right there. It comes up to the floor, and it's raw, and it starts to go like that. And they built this big wood frame underneath it to support the V coming in, and then it goes up to the roof like that. So even if we exposed it, we still can't get around it with the issue of the ceiling height. I said, oh, you know, they probably put the studs on the edge. They put them on flat, and they were like kissing the chimney. Like it's not even, obviously not code today, but the studs are actually against the brick on the flat, and then half-inch rock. So they went as tight as possible, and they still wound up with a very tight corridor.
I mean, that really does look incredibly tight.
You have to go like this with your elbows, but the staircase is worse. I mean, 18.5 inches.
What's option number 2?
Well, Sarah was thinking a dormer.
How would that be constructed and what would that be like?
We haven't really entertained it, to be honest with you, but we were talking earlier.
Do you want to draw on one of these?
If this stayed, the dormer would somehow be back in this corner of the house. Because really what's driving it is the building code for a stair. With all the different requirements and to get, all the steps that you need to get to the third floor. So when you sort of are starting to work with all that geometry, there's only so many places for this stair to go. So if we couldn't remove this, there would have to be some type of dormer here to get that head height.
Where is that in relation to the South Street? Is that,
This is South Street
so
right
it
here.
would be the back right corner?
Yeah.
The dormer off, the dormer be off the back, or would it be off the side?
It would be
Is this picture
off
here,
the
Sam?
side here, yes.
What do you think?
I think I might have a photo.
There is a photo of the back here.
It would be this side here, right?
So we would try to get it in that corner right there. That's a view from like the backyard looking back at the house.
This over here?
Yeah.
Just above the roof?
Right here, there's the chimney, so we try to get a dormer in there somehow. And then
So would it be on this roof or on this roof?
Because we have that other roof lane into that, and that ceiling's cathedral downstairs, so it would be tough to come through that side.
This is an addition.
That's the back, right?
Right, correct.
So this wouldn't even be visible from the street if you were to do that, right?
No. No.
Is it, this silly, is it at all an option of maybe just exposing the brick on the first floor and losing it from the second floor up through the roof? Is it at all interesting on the first floor?
That I don't know. I didn't cut any holes in the first floor. I'm having a hard time trying to find it coming through. The first, I know where it
You
is.
see why we're asking, because
Yeah.
we imagine that inside there is some gem of a
Yeah.
architectural
It's possible.
history.
I haven't seen one yet. I've taken a lot of stuff down.
You know.
But yeah, I mean, at that point, and I thought about just taking one side down and trying to support the chimney with one, but I just don't see how that could.
Which drawing is the first floor? Is there a drawing for the first floor?
Yeah, I did include the first and second floor on the last 2 pages, so you can see the kitchen on the first floor. I don't,
So this is the first floor.
correct.
Yeah. It's in there.
But the original fireplaces are not exposed, so they're not actually
Remember I told you
included
before,
in
they're
Yeah.
apart and they're offset by 2 feet.
Sarah, how would you design a dormer to go in that corner there?
I don't know
Well,
how.
we haven't really, that was just the less favorable option to us. It's also it's more expensive. We just felt like that was not, we didn't like the way that looked, so we haven't fully explored that. But again, to get all the head heights and to get the stair to code, that could probably work, but we just haven't gone down that avenue. We felt like we're trying to make it work within the existing structure would be ideal, as opposed to proposing, this dormer that it wouldn't look right on the structure, so.
It's the head height at the top of the stair when you come out.
It's all the width that you need stair to be, and the width that you need downstairs where the stair starts on the second floor. So there's just all these dimensions, and the geometry is really driving where does the stair need to be when it meets the third floor. And because of the ceiling height, it can only really meet in the middle
There's
of the structure.
And that's, right now, it's existing, it's 7'3", and that's only 2 feet of ceiling height, and then it starts to slope on either side.
This is your gable runs this way, correct?
Yes.
So if you come out up in here somewhere, you have enough room, head height, correct? If that was the top of the stair in here, I know it's over here now, but if you,
Well, correct, but it's the location of that stair can't be pushed towards, it can't move in either direction
Because of the second floor
because
layout.
of the second floor landing.
It'd be blocking this.
So there's an overlap of where that existing chimney is and the stair of about a foot. So if we were to push that stair a foot closer to the exterior wall, it wouldn't meet code, like, because you need it.
Okay, and you can't come up this way into this area as a landing?
We had talked about that, you can't, just because of the layout on the second floor. Because the stairs on the second floor come up right here. They come up, so there's a landing here, and that's where we built, I'm sorry, they come up, where am I now?
Yeah, there's a corridor
There's a
on the
corridor. So
second
we need to
floor.
get the top of the stairs, the second floor starts right, it comes up here, so that's when you step onto the second floor. So then, this looking down to that second floor, that's why we had the stairs over here, because you wouldn't be able to get off the second floor stairs coming up from the first floor. It's a little confusing, I know.
You can see it on the last page is the second floor.
This existing stair here lands right here now?
Yeah, just before the window. And it kind of curves around.
So you couldn't come up this way and...
Well, right now, that stair is so narrow, so it curves around, and the entire stairwell is only 4 feet, so it's like 2 feet for each side of the stair. So again, like, for that to meet code, it actually would need, like...
It's almost like a spiral staircase. It doesn't
Yeah.
really take up much room in its existing state now. The treads are 6 inches and the rises, some of them are 11, some of them are 10. It's like hiking, yeah.
Sounds like a ship stair or something.
I would
think I'm kind of at a loss here.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what options you might be able to come up with for a dormer. And if you can't see it from a public way, then
No,
it's
true.
out of our
it wouldn't be your problem, right?
jurisdiction, so.
It's just when, Sarah was saying of that dormer, and you were looking at it too, we have that other roof line laying into that, so I'm not even sure that even would be an option in that back corner.
This dormer would have to be like this. It would have to go like at an
It would
angle.
go, right, it would be like 8 feet to nothing into the corner because we have the other roof laying into it.
And I can't say I've seen something like that.
No, I haven't either, so I'm not even sure even if that is an option. We haven't really put pen to paper on it, but it doesn't look from first view. Would you be for, rebuilding a chimney like that? So we could keep the same look of the house? The lead flashing, the whole,
We've discouraged applicants to do faux chimneys.
like Middle Street?
But a brick, maintaining a brick, but you're gonna, like, we had questions about that before with, steel supports in there is gonna get, to hold up a couple £1,000 is gonna get costly too, and I don't even know if, from an engineering standpoint.
From an engineer, I'd have to get an engineer involved, obviously, and we'd have to, and the material to do it, so.
But this is, we'd like to preserve this, that's kind of what our goal would be. As I think, you've looked at this from a number of different angles too. And I certainly wouldn't, personally, taking this down, it's just I think it's an important architectural feature of this house. It's been there for, 175 years. And it looks like it's in pretty good shape from the exterior.
So, I've got a question. So if you were to just say take it down and rebuild it with something new, what would you do? And I guess I'll follow that up with a question of, could you take this down and rebuild it with the same brick? I don't know what else is inside there adding to the weight of it, but if it's just one length of brick.
Right.
Using the same brick and putting it back exactly the way it is.
I can't guarantee that that's gonna come apart, that I could use all the bricks over, and it would be something that we could try, but I can't, if it didn't happen and it didn't start coming apart right, I don't know where we'd be at that point.
Yeah.
We could try to do that, but typically when we take these down, the mortar's all stuck to the brick sometimes, and then depending on what they use for the infill structure of it, sometimes they mortared it to that as well. I haven't gone up and looked down it yet.
Well, this is a dilemma. And, I guess I understand the dilemma in terms of current function for what you want to achieve, but going forward, if somebody 50 years from now really wanted to expose all the fireplaces and so forth and so on, that would be not a possibility if you take out the chimney. And I think that's a big concern.
There is no fireplaces, and I don't see how they could have one, because, like I said, it's built on a 16 by 16-inch brick column. So I don't know how they would support a firebox off of that. We could tear up some of the walls and see if we could find some old fireboxes.
Yeah.
But I don't see that. I don't know how they would support a firebox on a 16 by 16 column, brick column, that's from the basement up.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen what's in the first floor, or what they have or could have covered up, or on the second floor.
But there must be something there, right?
Yeah.
No, and we haven't seen it.
I mean, why would they have a chimney without something there?
Yeah, because back then, they didn't have an oil furnace. They
Yeah,
burned wood.
yeah.
And in typical, when the chimney did come through the middle of the house, you had fireboxes on all four
Yeah,
sides, and that
yeah.
heated all the rooms, and you had it in the first floor and the second floor. I don't think it's the case here, but I just don't see how you get all those fireboxes on two posts, But, it's certainly, we could take it apart, take a look, but we wouldn't have to take the fireboxes out if we did find them. We really only want to take the chimney out, we want to take the chimney out from the top of the second floor through the roof.
Yeah.
So we could leave everything in the basement and through the first floor and through the second floor.
But if there were fireboxes, and you did that, they would not be functional if somebody chose to have them functional. I mean, what
We
is...
do have a functional fireplace in the house.
Well, yeah,
That
but I
one
know
at
what
the
you
end.
mean, like, they wouldn't be able to use the original ones. I think
Right.
the problem is that we don't know why they were covered up. We don't know, like, they're all boxed in.
It's so
And
typical,
there's all
yeah.
HVAC, and so I think what he's trying to say is they might not even be there. Like, they might have taken them out because,
They were probably there at one point, right? Otherwise, why
It
have
might
the
not be
chimney?
anymore.
right?
Yeah, I just don't know what would support them. It blows my mind the way it's supported in the basement and then what we have at the top. I've just
Yeah.
never seen it. I've taken a lot of old houses apart, and this is the first.
Yeah,
I mean, typically, they would build a chimney, and then they would say, okay, we want to go out there, and then that's how they did it. They slanted them and this and that, which was normal back then. But this
Yeah.
is
abnormal.
odd, very odd, yeah.
Is there any precedent, Hans or Andrea, for saying, okay, let's uncover it and do some exploratory surgery?
I don't think we can request that. That would be interior work, and that would be at the discretion of the homeowner.
Sarah, what about, all right, you just keep the stairway the way it is, and you just reconfigure the third floor to what works. It's a small staircase, the staircase stays the same. Is there anything, you have, all right, you can't have like a large person go in there, but,
Yeah. I think they just wouldn't do anything. It would just be unusable space. Honestly, it's so narrow. That corridor is like 24 inches head height. I think it would just not be usable space.
I mean, you wouldn't, you literally can't get furniture up this, up, like, you could get maybe this chair up there, but you couldn't get a dresser or, I don't know, a bed. The staircase literally winds up.
Yeah.
What was it, storage?
Well, no, as you can see from the pictures, they sheetrocked it and made a big cedar closet up there, basically. Yeah, it's a big 12 by, 12 cedar closet.
That's what go right up through the chimney to get up there.
You could.
That's for Santa.
Right, that's the Santa.
Oh, he'd have a tricky one.
Right.
Which way do I go?
That's a dilemma.
It is really something to think about taking out a chimney. I mean, it's given its architectural import to a house and its functional import to a house, it's really something to think about taking it out. Because once out, probably not going back.
I think that the homeowners, they agree that it looks best and it should stay and remain, and so I like Mike's suggestion of possibly reusing the older brick, or, I mean, I think the goal is to replace exactly what's there visually, so aesthetically.
From the roof line up.
Yeah, that nothing aesthetically would change. You know, it's just that it wouldn't be real, you know, and it wouldn't be original, but visually, you know, the goal is to maintain the exact aesthetic of the exterior exactly as it is today.
Yeah, yeah.
Thomas, we haven't heard from you.
Well, I drove by earlier today, and usually I would say that I would not be in favor of removing a chimney, but listening to what the options are, and I would personally be in favor of taking it out and then putting in something that looked like this instead, rather than going out and building a whole new thing in the back. Usually I would not be in favor of this, but since there's no fireboxes anywhere in the house, I have a hard time seeing that anybody would today open it up. So personally, I would be leaning towards that option.
Do you want to come back and see if there's an opportunity here to rebuild this?
To rebuild it, what do you mean?
What Mike is suggesting. So,
What, building this back on the top?
yeah.
Now, building that back on top, could we use like a half a brick? Like, would we have to like do a full brick up there, or could we cut a brick in half and try to
Like
build
in
it
the
that? Yeah, but a real brick.
So it's not as
Yeah,
heavy.
just to bring the weight down. You know, if it looked like this, that's the ultimate goal, having the lead like this, having it look authentic.
Yeah, yeah, as long as it's not a faux kind of, it's obvious from South Street.
And I think if the board wants to approve that, then I don't see that they need to come back. It's either,
Right,
the
if you
application
can't
says
tell.
take down remove the chimney and replace it, or
But I
the
think we'd
project doesn't
want to see the
happen.
materials, though, and what
You
type
can
of-
get aged veneers, right?
Yep.
Now, would that, I'm a little bit unclear. If that was the course, if in 50 years somebody wanted to expose the possibility of fireboxes, then it would not be able to be worked. It would be a faux chimney, but it wouldn't be connected to because the existing chimney would be removed. It would just be the little top hat.
Yeah, just for, you know, for streetscape, just to make it look the way it is now.
But I think what Virginia's pointing out is that if you did do the faux look, the opportunity of exposing and restoring fireboxes would be foreclosed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
We couldn't consider this a reversible treatment,
Right.
is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Tom, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Looking at the first floor, where would there even be fireboxes?
that's what I'm talking about. So here's what the chimney,
I did a little bit of investigating.
Would you have to be somewhere around
This
there?
is one of them, and the other one is over here. So they're like that and like that. So they're 16 by 16. All right, and so is this one, okay? And it's 2 foot off center and 4 feet apart. So I found them in that floor. So I just don't, there just can't be a firebox there.
So you're going to, if you went forward to dismantle the chimney, you'd be taking out all the woodwork and wall here to go through that process, and you'd see, you'd have an opportunity to see.
Yeah, we're going to remodel this area here. This is getting gutted, so we're going to have the opportunity to look on the backside and see what's going on with these two here. We weren't doing anything with this room. We're remodeling this room as well, so, and we're not really doing anything here. So yeah, so the one is there and the one is there, so 4 feet apart, 2 feet off the line of each other. So, and then I haven't really, when you come to here, they're in this wall somewhere. I think one is here and one's here. And then somehow from there to, when they came through the third floor, they're aligned to each other as far as not offset, but they're 4 feet apart.
Can you give us a little bit of a history on how the commission has viewed faux chimneys, replicas?
Let's see, we haven't really had...
No, you are.
Well, to be honest, we just... I think we approved, there was a house on Ship Street where they had a similar situation with a very strange configuration inside, and so the commission at that time said that they could remove the chimney, and they preferred at that time that they removed it rather than, the intent was to try and keep the structure that was on top of the roof, but as you pointed out, Tom, it's too heavy. So in that case, they opted to
Remove the chimney.
remove the chimney.
And has the commission ever approved a faux chimney?
Only one that I can think of, but that's not to say, and that was on a brand-new construction on Pleasant Street.
Yeah, and that didn't come out well. Yeah. But we wouldn't build it that way.
Exactly. So, the reality is that, let's just say, we have no jurisdiction over the interior, except that, we're hearing rationale for removing the chimney. I also am not in favor of removing architectural features. However, in this case, it just seems like, since there's no evidence that there are no fireplaces.
Okay.
That's just...
So if, what we could do is craft a motion with a replacement in mind, with specific materials, and if the commission would like to vote on it, they could. If they're opposed to it, they could be opposed to that.
Fine.
The application you have is for the demo of this chimney. So, maybe the motion is basically for the replacement.
Yeah, to demolish contingent on replacing.
And reconstructing as
is,
close to
as built.
Here, so the corbels on the top would need to be...
And we don't even know if it's feasible, but that would be the motion and something to explore. And if that wasn't possible, then you need to go in another direction and you have to come back again.
So when you're saying replace existing, not a faux chimney, but a real chimney?
Replace it so it looks like this picture.
So that it looks like
It could
that.
look like that, but does it have to be built like that? Is the question.
Tom then build it in veneer?
I don't see why
Then
not.
it reduces the weight.
As long as it looks like this picture.
As close to it as possible.
How would you do the corners in the veneer? Does that come as an L piece?
You can buy corners all built up and you stack them right up. You start with the corners and then you fill in between.
How are you going to support this?
This wouldn't need support if I built it like a faux chimney. I wouldn't have to support it.
But the
Be like
interior you're going to remove.
Yes.
So how are you going to support this up from underneath?
It'd be like a cupola sitting on top of your...
pretty much.
But it's going to weigh something. mean, this is going to be some brick veneer, which is going to be
Yeah.
heavier than shingles.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, if I have to, and I'll probably get an engineer, so I'll probably calculate what the weight's going to be, and, you know, if I put some collar ties, LVL collar ties in there and bolted them to the existing rafters on either side and made like a little bed cradle up there and then built it from there up. And you can do wonders with LVLs these days. But obviously, we'd have to have an engineer calculate what the weight's going to be and then build it accordingly. But you can build a truss up there. 2 trusses would hold this no problem. You know, and it's just really, you know, 2 trusses would be built out of LVLs with a platform between.
If you wanted to, could you bring this chimney back so it's usable the way it is right now?
If I,
So,
And just say, to Virginia's point, is what you're saying,
yes,
right?
yes.
So if
If you
somebody in
wanted
the
to,
future
could
wanted
this
to...
be an operational fireplace?
if I wanted to.
As it is right now?
Yeah, I wasn't under that notion that you wanted it to be an operational chimney.
I'm just curious, and again, we don't have jurisdiction over the interior, but this is a chimney.
But if I had it optional above and there was nothing below it, then why would you even want to make it optional?
No, I think,
I guess I'm not understanding the question.
I'm just asking if you, no plans for a 3rd floor, the house is sold.
Yeah.
There's a chimney here, could this chimney be operational as is?
Could they rebuild, could they put the section from the 3rd to the roof? Is that what you're telling me? Could they put it back?
It's only from the roof up, the chimney.
I'm only building just this. There'll be nothing below it.
I understand that.
Okay.
Right now, if you wanted to have a fire in the house tonight,
Yes.
could you do that?
No.
Okay. Could you make it so you could tonight?
No.
Okay.
And using this chimney or the other chimney?
Right, it's just that.
Chimney the way it is right now?
Yes. There's no way to have a fire in the house with the chimney the way it is right now.
Why is that, Tom?
Because there's no fireboxes.
Could you put a firebox in there?
Not unless they built a foundation in the basement to support the firebox.
When's the last time you think a fire has been in this house? If you had to guess.
I don't know all that much history of the house, so I have no idea.
So the question is, have the fireboxes been covered up, or have they been taken out?
It's a hard question to answer, because I built a lot of fireboxes, I've seen a lot of old chimneys, and the base of these chimneys are, you know, 8 by 8 in the basement, and then they're holding 4 fireboxes and 4 more fireboxes, and that's how they did it.
Yeah.
This here, there's nothing holding this up, so it blows my mind if they ever could build a firebox on these posts that are holding this chimney up in the basement. I just don't see how they could do it. There's just not enough room.
So
You
what's
know.
keeping the chimney from like plummeting through the basement, right?
Well, it goes like that, and then it connects in this, and then it goes out. So it's self-supported by itself. It comes down through the house, you know, shifts around, and it goes down through the basement.
It's not like there's been a fire in this house for years.
I don't think there's ever had a firebox, and I just don't see how it could have. I could open up some walls and see if we could find something, but like I said, it's 16 by 16. That's not very big, you know?
Yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse.
No, I hear you. I love
Burn out
fireboxes.
embers, but,
I'm a wood burner. I burn 3 quarts of wood a year. I love wood burning fireplaces.
But why the chimneys without the capacity to have a fire?
But there is no fireboxes right now.
I mean, my guess, so there probably were at some point.
1850s, there had to have been.
Yeah.
Yes, but maybe not with this particular chimney. Maybe it was another, I don't know. I just don't know how you'd get the fireboxes in there.
Interesting, yeah, no.
Yeah, and it could be. I could be completely wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you'd like, I'll pull some walls apart and we can see if there's some old boxes in there. But typically now, in these old days, people put the fake logs in there and they just make it a pretty box because most of them smoke up the whole house.
Okay,
I know.
You probably have one.
Almost dead yet?
Yeah, we need to,
Yeah.
and I think, so, do you want to do this one?
Yeah.
And we explored the operational aspect of this chimney, and without the fireboxes here, this is a one-off. So, this is, I don't want to, let's craft that into the motion. Okay. We can.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for 142 South Street for removal of the existing chimney based on information received about what is inside the house and what's understood to be a lack of fireboxes. Rebuild a new chimney at the roof level to match dimensions and details of the existing chimney, including lead flashing, brick color, to match existing, and mortar color to match existing.
We missing anything? All in favor? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Sorry.
Aye.
Do we have a second?
Am I the silent
I'll second
second?
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Apologetically, no.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry that took so long.
You know what? It's worth, talking about it, because you got to look at all the options, right?
Yeah. No, I think you have.
All right, thanks, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for the time. I carried that one piece of paper back.
See, I need to,
These back?
Sarah, I need
Put 'em in
a
the file
copy
or
of
whatever.
the plan. that you- That's great, thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks again, guys.
I've got those, thank you. All right.
All right, next up is 389 Main Street. This is the Wagner residence. Al, you want to come on up? Sorry for the wait.
A learning adventure.
What do you say?
Learning adventure.
Yeah, I'd say. So, we were out on a site visit last weekend, which was extremely helpful, and Al had some new drawings for us based on the feedback that we gave last time for the informal discussion. He's got his model again, which is great, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And, the footprint of the house was mapped out as far as the new addition relative to the existing, so.
Yeah, I'll hand them out.
Was it some of the rendering that you asked for from the street view?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
And a modified site plan that shows, excuse me, the areas, the living area of 3 surrounding homes. So just some numbers to talk about when we get there. So, thank you all for coming out over the weekend. And so, I don't know if this is the best angle for everyone, but I can spin it and twist it around. But I added the garage mass, so it completes the existing structure. So this is what I was here with, and the owner is not here tonight. He's in California. So thank you. He wishes he was, but he can't be here. So this was 2 weeks ago, I think, where I was replicating this mass over here, and I thought it was nicely bookended, and I was very excited about it. The owner was very excited about it. The massing seemed to work. It sort of tied in with the house, but I think the general feedback from the board was that it was just, competing roof ridge line-wise with the main house, and can we soften that in any way? And I thought, I said I would look at that, of course. And so what I did is that I came up with this secondary roof line, which brings the scale down considerably and maintains the same roof slope as the main house. So it works within the same footprint, it just is much lower in scale and mass. And the back appropriates the rear gable, but it's just a softer slope. This slope mirrors the main house slope. I can spin this, I don't know how best to sort of explain this from my side to your side, but I'll try. So.
Oh, here's the front.
Yeah, that's the front, yep. This is the main street, this is Thompson Ave on this side. So that's the rendering I did, you have in front of you, is that view, sort of from Oz's point of view. As opposed to, again, I can switch these out. So this was the original mass. So I've been back and forth with this. It's kind of fun to sort of play with, but it's
It's a nice difference.
Yeah, it really, it was surprisingly just, I don't know, more comfortable looking, I guess. how it feels. So, and it retains a lot of the same spacing of windows and grouping of window, and then the setback here creates a secondary break in the roof line. This ridge is, because it's a massing model, it's not exactly right. This would be stepped up a little bit in reality, similar to the roof plan I showed on the site plan, but because of the nature of the way this thing came together, it still steps back. That'll be exactly how it goes, but there'll be a secondary roof line here to here. So another visual break. So this is actually constructed higher than it would be. This is the true ridge height. This should be lower. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm hoping for some feedback.
The model's very helpful. Thank you. Thanks for the changes that you made and incorporated. And it was great to go out and see the site and to see it mapped out.
Yep.
And the footprint doesn't change that much.
Right.
When you go out to see it.
There is an existing, the side addition is there, and I'm not really responding to that because it's buried within this mess.
There's a porch there, and I know it's not part of the model, but if you saw it, the footprint only comes out about 5 feet or so.
Correct.
So you're basically just adding a second floor is what's
essentially,
what's going on here. So you've got a gable coming out right now. You're removing that and you're just putting a second floor on it. It's kind of how I'm looking at this after coming out to see it.
Yep.
Questions for Ralph?
I'm surprised the difference between the two roofs. I mean, this totally changes the whole thing. Looks great.
I was surprised as well, I have to say.
From a scale perspective, it totally changes and makes it look very different, much smaller.
Yeah.
It's like magic.
It really was in this case. I don't know. It was very dramatic.
What's the square footage that you're adding here?
Well, those numbers are in the package. So, yeah. I'm sorry, let's see.
6 by 24?
Well, that's sort of the footprint of the new, yeah, but do you have the red and green sort of
Yes.
diagram?
Okay.
So the area of the proposed first floor of heated space is 888 square feet, and the existing square footage of the first floor is 2,157. And then I've got the porch square footage at 292. And that totals 3,045 square feet of living area for the first floor. And the second floor has 2,701 square feet of living area, and that totals 5,000.
746?
Yes. And then on the bottom of that site plan I handed out just now, there were two large homes across the street, and one is 392 Main Street, which isn't the church. The church at 386 Main has 6,490 square feet of living area. And then the one to the right of it at 392 Main has 6,993 square feet of living area. And this has 5,746. And those lots, the church property lot is a half acre. This is closer to 2/3 of an acre. And then there's a house when you're on Thompson to the direct right of this property that is 4,347 square feet on a quarter acre. So there are big homes just all around, and this is,
So on the first floor, you're adding 888 of living area plus 292 of porch. So you're adding a little over 1,100 feet on the first floor.
Well, that's a little misleading because the porch doesn't count in the living area, but I'm just trying to
So
be real.
888 on the first floor without and the second floor, you're adding
784.
So you're adding 1,600 square feet of living area.
Yeah.
On existing
So 2157 plus 1971.
So that's,
1917, so 2,000 plus, so you got,
it's like,
you got 4,000 square feet, you're adding 1,600
yep,
living room.
yep.
I think the numbers are the numbers. When you look at the model here, on its own, the house seems a lot bigger than what it is. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. Sometimes, yeah.
Maybe it's just the different roof lines, the way the house was kind of built over the years.
But the good thing is that it's tight to the setback line on Thompson, which opens up the entire second lot here for a side yard and visual sort of, a nice visual fit because of the open space. That's one of the good things that's going for it, with the site location.
It's going to be more stately. You know,
Yeah.
this house now, it's it was originally colonial. It's going to become more, it's going to become a little bit more fancy. It's going to be, more prominent than it was. So just so the commission knows.
The rendering is very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a prominent view corridor when you're coming up Main.
I like the fire hydrant. It's a nice detail.
Thanks for noticing.
Where's that? Oh, gosh.
That was a story, those are my first words, yellow hydrant. So there you go.
Oh, my
That
gosh.
means they're very special to me.
You get a discount on your homeowner's insurance if you have a fire plug within, nice close to the house.
I think over time, all the arborvitae that they've planted too is, you're not really going to see this first floor. You're not going to see as much of this porch as you're seeing now. Give it 5 years, 10 years.
Right, and then in that rendering, I was sort of ghosting in the hedgerow and,
But, look at it even if the arborvitae wasn't there. Just assume that that fence isn't there, and this is what you're going to look at. That's how you... You guys want to go through the, worksheet? Are there any other questions? Or we can kind of hit questions as we go?
Yeah. I was just going to say it was really helpful to be there. I think the size of the yard sort of diminishes the overwhelmingness, if you will, of
Yeah.
that. And I think seeing the existing sun porch, so it's really not that much more.
thank you, yeah.
Just the second floor. But the lot really accommodates it. I guess he said it's a double lot.
It is, it's a double
Because I
lot.
think if it was a different lot, it really wouldn't,
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to
I
hold
agree,
it with
yeah.
the same height. Sorry.
Any comments? In terms of the site, does the new building reflect the site on the street in terms of setbacks, orientation to the street, spacing, distance from adjacent buildings visible from a public way?
Yes.
Yes. Is a proposed new addition placed so that it will minimize the visual impact on the historic structure?
Yes.
The changes that Al made on this iteration reflect some of the comments that we made last time. Scale, is the scale of the new construction consistent with the width to height proportions and floor to floor proportions when compared to the adjacent structures and to the site?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely subservient to the original colonial. Does the new addition overpower the existing historic building?
No.
No.
Massing, is the new construction compatible with the adjacent historic buildings and the other historic buildings in the streetscape in terms of height, design, materials, roof forms, foundation, and footprint?
Yes.
Is the new addition over 50% larger in square feet than the existing historic building?
No.
1,600 square feet added onto 4,000 existing living space. Height, is the height of the new construction compatible with the adjacent historic buildings and other historic buildings in the streetscape?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the height of the new addition subservient to that of the existing building?
Yes.
Proportion, is there a harmonious relation of each part facade of the building to the whole?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Does the new construction reflect the rhythm of the surrounding buildings in a manner that contributes to special character of the district?
Yes.
Is the design of the new construction architecturally compatible with the surrounding buildings that contribute to the overall character of the district?
Yes.
Yes.
If new construction is on an existing building, is designed such that the new construction were to be removed in the future, the existing building would be intact?
Yes.
Yes.
Are the materials proposed for the new construction compatible with the historic materials and finishes found in the surrounding buildings or the existing building if an addition that contribute to the special character of the historic district?
Can I just get clarification? Let's see, so the windows you're using are,
There'll be two two divided light, double hung,
True.
6/6, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Has that changed?
You can use...
Simulated.
Yeah.
On
Since
the-
when?
On an
In the
addition,
new, in the addition.
It's an addition.
on new construction.
Okay, well,
Yeah, but it has to be, it has to be all wood construction still.
yeah, that's not a problem. I just wanted, that would be great. Yeah, I thought the main, the streetscape, the facade facing Main Street had to have,
Well, I think that's the decision you can make with the...
I just want it to be compatible with the main house, and if we can make that work visually, I think it would be ideal if we could do.
Isn't the addition simulated divided light on that street?
Yeah, that is, but I'm not responding to that. Because this is beyond that.
The Main Street, you're saying the Main Street side?
Yeah.
I think in this scenario, you could do either. I think you could do true divided if you wanted to. I think you have the option in this scenario to do simulated if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Because it's a new addition.
Right.
If you would put storms up there, I can't remember what was up on the front. What was on that?
I think there were storms.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do that if you want, or if you
I'd rather not. I mean,
could do a simulated divided light all wood window.
yeah,
Then
that'd
it's
be
your
great.
option.
Good.
Historic sill.
All that. All the proportions, all the trim, all the,
And all the materials and trim to match existing. All right. Are the windows, doors proposed for the new construction compatible with those of the surrounding buildings that contribute to the special character of the historic district with respect to material, subdivision, proportion, pattern, and detail?
The doors,
up to the porch?
yeah, what are those? Are those all wood? Or is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, that would be the right way to go there.
So then, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you got a French door there, right?
Yeah.
It's all wood, simulated divided light, French door.
That's the right call?
Are the roof forms and pitches of the new construction consistent with the adjacent historic buildings?
Yes.
Yes.
Will the new construction affect the overall character of the historic streetscape and its location with respect to the site, character defining site features, trees, and historically significant vistas?
It affects it, but not detrimentally.
Meets the character of the existing streetscape. All right, infill buildings, that's not us. Zoning, is the new construction cited so that it's consistent with the setbacks of other buildings in the streetscape? Yes.
Yeah.
Rhythm, good. Demolition, Al, do you have a demolition of the existing building?
Do I have it?
Yeah.
It's ghosted on the plan. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Is that on the,
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows the footprint that would be
Yeah, he'll
removed.
show it
On A101, it's the dashed.
Okay, so we've got it already? Good. So we've got the proposed demolition. Does not apply to the main building. Do we have enough pictures of the existing addition? Okay, we do.
Yeah, there's several that are submitted.
Is the entire building or a specific portion proposed for demolition? No, just an addition. Has evidence been provided to justify the demolition? Yes. Will demolition adversely affect adjacent historic buildings or the character-defining nature of the streetscape? No. Okay. Anything you missed, guys? Anything, Okay, so voting members are, where's my sheet?
It's Justin and Ronnie, you, Virginia, and Mike.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion on this? For 389 Main Street?
Sure.
Thanks, Mike. Would someone like Mike like to make a motion?
All right. I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 389 Main Street for the demolition of a small addition to the left-hand side of the house, and to be replaced by a new two-story addition with side porch, based on option B, as submitted, drawings dated November 5th, 2018, and November 7th, 2018. Windows are to be simulated divided light, all wood. New doors are to be wood. All other exterior materials, siding and trim to be wood, all trim details to match existing.
And that's it.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Great work, Al.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thanks for taking
Thanks
our
for the great
comments
feedback and
into your
patience.
consideration. I think it came out a lot better than the first edition.
So you can give them that for Christmas.
Really? I know. I might keep this one.
It's really, really nicely done.
And thank you, Andrea, for suggesting that to get everything started. I appreciate that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, you
Yeah,
too.
All right, so next up, we have an informal for Bank Avenue. All right. Thanks, everyone, for waiting. Sorry we're a little bit late. Had a full agenda tonight. So this is our first time seeing this application. So this is an informal presentation. So what I thought we'd do is give the applicant a chance to talk about the plans and the project, and I would assume that they'd be coming back at some point, maybe next month or after. And at that time, there'll be plenty of opportunity to take questions and comments I will make sure that everyone in attendance gets a chance to speak at that time. So I know there's been a number of different iterations of this plan since it first started. This is our first time seeing it, so Mike, the first time you all were seeing it also. So we're here to listen tonight and to give some initial, advice and suggestions and thoughts to the applicant based on what we hear. So we appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, good evening. My name is John Barry. I'm the
John, I'm sorry, can
the
you
applicant.
just get closer
Yes,
to the
of
microphone?
course.
Sorry, we're
Not at all.
on the two.
My name is John Barry. I'm the applicant, and appreciate the opportunity to present the plan informally tonight. I know that we are back on the agenda next month formally, and I just turn it over to Sevi Strzekalowski, who has been working with me since back in the spring. This is, I think, about the 6th or 7th iteration of the plan, and again, I'll leave it up to Sevi. But thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Sevi, do you want to speak from over here?
No, do you have that handheld?
No, there's no handheld. Just, this is it.
Pull this much closer.
There we go.
Sevi, the lounge singer. Okay.
Thanks. That works. Hans.
How are you?
Good. Nice to see you all. Sevi Strzekalowski Architecture. And we're here to discuss a process. First of all, we have met back in April with the neighborhood at Mr. Olin's backyard, another season. And we, at that time, presented some iterations of how we might approach the site. What we're doing in our, attempting to do in our project is to work within the goals of the overlay district in the downtown to provide the residential and commercial component that will revitalize the town, will meet the goals of the planning board, the zoning board, other agencies in town to have the right kind of residential use and support the right kind of commercial use. In other words, get other than realtor's office, nail salons, but get back into hardware, hobby shops, bookstore, things that are used by the residents. And in that regard, we're also, this is the business zone, Zone B1 is part of the overlay district. The whole site consists of a slightly over an acre of land that includes 105, 103 and 105 North Street, which John Barry owns, and the land behind it that's bordered by Bank Ave and houses on Cottage Street and the adjacent street. We are working hard to ensure that the owner of the land, who has banked it appropriately to, no pun intended, to prevent it from being developed in the wrong way. We're trying to design a project which minimizes the impact on the neighbors and design a project which fits into the historic architectural context of the town, which is your particular interest. The progression of the project here shows back in April that we went to the neighbors to explain
our process, and this is what we showed the neighbors in April with a scheme that went from 20 new units down to 10 units, and ranged in the building area of 35,000 feet down to 22,000 feet. Our footprint varied. We incorporated commercial, but the percentage of commercial is something that became an issue, particularly with the planning board, that they have in mind a substantial chunk of the ground floor space be commercial so that it contributes to the vitality, commercial vitality of North Street, the business district. Scheme 4 is what we presented to the planning board, and Scheme 4 then, and I'm going to compare quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of time with the historic part of it, but I want you to be aware that we've met with the neighbors, we've responded to the neighbors, we've responded to what we've learned from working with you in the town on the Station Street project. We've dealt with building height. We've dealt with footprint, which in this scheme was 9,200 feet, 18% of it commercial, and the lot coverage was 19%. The scheme we're showing you tonight, when I say existing units, by the way, those are units that are in the front building on North Street, which is 103, 105, plus a garage that exists upside down. That in previous schemes we were demolishing to assist in the parking, but we're going to keep that. There's a unit there. There are 8 units in that front building on North Street. And this is our 5,000 square foot footprint. And the intent here is to design a building that is really a sister back building to Bank Ave with similar detailing, 2-over-2 windows, much more compact footprint, and build that into the slope so that all the retail activity, we have a in and out roadway, by the way, eliminating sightline issues, and the retail parking area, all that activity would take place on this lower level, which is 12 feet below the upper part of the site, Bank Ave site. The building is proposed as, so I say, very much in the character of the front building. In detailing, what we would do is really treat it as a back building. It's informal. It's built into the slope. We would use fieldstone on the lower level. The elevator shaft comes through the roof as a chimney element, would be stone encased. The eaves are kept at the similar height to the second level of the eaves on the 103, 105 building. There is no outside activity there would be a second egress, which would have to be off the second level. But the parking and the retail is all taking place at the lower level and does not impact the Bank Ave residents.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to, just for a correction, we haven't engaged a landscape architect yet. There's probably going to be some type of English garden or something off the back of the building. I don't want to represent there's going to be no activity. I think there will be some type of limited, maybe a patio area in the back.
Right, but there aren't balconies, there's not a lot of outside activity. So that this is an opportunity then to develop what's a very extensive, as I say, this is a 11% lot coverage, so more than half of the back parcel is left and improved. Right now, it's parked on by residents. There's trash. The trees are not specimen trees. It's an opportunity to bring in more trees. I think the planning board would love to see birch. I mean, there are a lot of things that could be done to make that a much more significant landscaped area and buffer. So it's all accessible off North Street. It's a very viable little, what you'd call in Britain, a close, but it's like it exists in Plymouth. There are little commercial spaces that come off the main street. And as I say, the activity of into the parking garage is at the lower level. And I think to compare it with the previous scheme where we tried to develop some one-story elements to keep the scale down, but the footprint was larger. You can see the difference. A lot of this ground is left untouched. Looking at the and here's the overall, not quite to the Olin's property at the end of Bank Ave, but you can see how minimally the site is impacted by the footprint. These buildings are 90 feet apart. There's a lot of space to maneuver, to buffer. The building is 30 feet back off Bank Ave, 35 feet off this border, and over 100 feet from that back border. And even though, you know, this existing ridge is at 27 feet, these are about 8-foot chimneys. This ridge is at 38 feet, so we dropped that from the 50 feet that we showed in this scheme, which was presented to the planning board. So I think that we can get into elevations if you want, in some detail, but might do that because I'm going to twist it around.
Need that wireless. I'll grab, we can bring more up.
So this is the approach into the parking area, showing the stone base, the retail space, awning, the scale of dropping this eave and dormering out of that, so that the the upper level is very much subordinate in the overall massing. So we worked hard at breaking up the massing. This is the elevator chimney that would be enclosed in stone. And in the side elevation, this is actually the elevation facing the Peckers and showing how the slope, these would be access stairs for emergency use for fire access around the building, but how the building steps into the hill and then essentially is a two-story building on the back side where the impact is greatest on the abutters. And this is the rear elevation facing up toward Cottage Street, showing the second level, second means of egress, but very much a scale of building in keeping with the budding architecture. So I can stop there.
Do you have a left side elevation too? Because that's going to impact the Bank Ave side then.
So this is the same stepping up. Now being 30 feet back off the property line on that side of Bank Ave, there's a lot of opportunity, which we didn't show here, we didn't have here, to plant and to buffer. But that's the Bank Ave view looking toward North Street, and this is the Bank Ave elevation with the stone and the broken roof line, stone chimney. The lower level.
John, anything else, or good?
I think we were, asked just to present the plan, you folks all have copies, and
Yeah.
I think that was the intent of tonight, just to introduce the property and the proposed architectural scheme, and we'll look forward to coming back in December on a more formal basis.
Okay, really appreciate it.
We appreciate the time tonight.
Any questions for John or for Sevi? Who would like to start? Any thoughts?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Sevi, the stone that you mentioned, can you give a description of what that stone is? Is this a cut square stone? Is it a irregular?
It'd be a fieldstone, informal, irregular, be a veneer.
Okay.
But it would be 2-inch plus or minus to get texture to it. But it'd be an irregular fieldstone character. I mean, much as we're indicating here, it would have a variety of color, something that would fit into a hillside.
Right. Is there any stone on 105? Is that all clapboard?
It's all clapboard, but that is a flat site building, and the point is not to replicate 105, which is, to say, a flat site building. This is kind of a secondary, almost a barn-like, informal approach to it. So it's a sister building, but it's secondary. It's not a replication of 105, so we think the stone adds that informality and softens it and reduces scale. But it's quite barn-like.
I guess I'd just like to see a sample of the stone.
Oh, yeah, I would.
For your, yeah.
There's a lot available now. We use quite a bit of it.
Okay.
Are you planning any modifications to the North Street property, or is it strictly the demolition of the one building, site work, in the addition of the new big building?
That's accurate. I mean, I acquired the property this past year and plan on making kind of cosmetic improvements, but in terms of structural or anything with respect to footprint, no.
Yeah.
Really, this is specific to the back parcel.
Okay. Okay, thanks. One other comment in regard to the elevator and the override. I appreciate the need to do it and on a small building, trying to squeeze an elevator in there. I'd just be concerned about what that override ultimately becomes and how big it is and how tall it's going to be. Because it looks pretty big now, and when the reality, and maybe there's some accuracy in terms of the height, but I'd be concerned about what the scale of that is compared to the rest of the building.
Well, it's an elevator is 13'8" off the last stop, and the elevator that I know you're very sensitive to on the Lincoln building grew out of the fact that the roof was the last stop. That was a roof terrace, so it had to go another 13'8". I've done elevators enclosed like that. Scott Oliver's medical building down in Duxbury on 3A, very traditional looking hotel-like shingle-style building, and actually on the Kings Highway in Barnstable, which is all highly regulated historically, sort of a cape. So, you know, the vent is quite small relative to that. It could be on the back side, just a 2x2.
Mm-hmm.
But the size is accurate. I mean, the elevator shaft.
Can you grab that?
I'm sorry. The elevator shaft is approximately 8x8, and that's what we're showing. And
So would it even be that tall then, if it's 13'8", you said, from the last stop?
above the last
Above
stop.
the last.
Above the last stop, right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the last stop. So it's 26 feet, let's say, from the last stop.
What do you think's exposed over the ridge?
It's about 7.5 feet. What I show there is 7.5 feet. It has to be, the vent has to be 3 feet above the roof.
So it's about 8 by 8 by 8.
Yep.
Is what we're going to
Correct.
see.
Different, huh?
Okay. Virginia? Yeah. Okay. Down here? I got a few questions. You say the third floor is going to look like the second floor in the
It'll be
design?
somewhat smaller, but essentially the same layout.
Okay. So you got 4 units,
4 and 4.
second, 4 and 4,
Right.
about the same square footage?
Right, slightly less on the top
Okay.
floor.
All right.
Of the setbacks, dormer setbacks.
This is a great drawing, Sevy.
Glad you like that, Hans. I think it says it all, really, in terms of the relationship. But
Where do these, so the stairs here look a little bit more prominent off the rear than they have in this footprint here. Is there something else, is there a difference there, or is it, looks like it's kind of coming out a
Well,
little
in
bit?
section, this is what it really is.
Okay.
Because you're coming off a half level. See, it's the landing of the stair, because the stairs go up this way.
Okay.
So you're coming off the landing and then going down half a level.
All right, so this is all going to be, there's going to be some...
It's only a half level down to grade, and that grade is coming up, so it's actually a 12-foot difference. But we kept it down below the water table because we didn't want more stone than that.
Okay.
But they'll be integrated in the landscape.
Okay, so this is going to be, there'll be some field stone...
Be all field stone,
Back in
correct.
there, and the steps will be
Right.
kind of complementing that.
Right, and we can bring the grade up there, so it'll marry itself with the grade.
Okay. Is there an opportunity for, I mean, you talked about birch trees, and there's a big vacant lot back there. Is there an opportunity to create kind of like a park concept back there that the neighbors can use, or what are your thoughts back there for that? You got a half acre that you got back there that's vacant, and it could be a lot more than what it is.
Right. There are no plans for kind of a public use of the back lot, and there isn't any intention at this point. As I indicated in Sebi's presentation, there's more than likely going to be some type of outside living space immediately behind the building, and I'm thinking, again, probably bluestone patio with a fieldstone wall, and so we're still waiting to get an landscape architect on board, and that will probably evolve between now and our formal meeting. But there is no intention or intent of having any public access to the back parcel.
To have a little ball field or something, I mean, a park could be a very passive thing. What really is needed back there is buffer and to improve the property, or working with the trees, bringing in the right kinds of trees, thinning them out. I mean, it's a pretty scruffy lot. It's not
Right.
your woods.
The parking lot is on your property, correct?
That is correct.
So is that, what happens with all that parking back there?
So I guess, I mean, I have the property under option. The Siokas family owns it currently, and I think if they were here, they'd probably resist the parking lot reference. I think they owned 3 of the 4 properties on Bank Ave. The family did for many years, and over the last 20 years, they have been selling off their parcels. I think that they had allowed folks that they were selling property to maybe, I think they acknowledged that they would let them park there while they still own the property. So I don't think it's a parking lot necessarily. I think people have parked there on occasion, but I don't think it's a parking lot. I mean, it's a vacant parcel of land. And the footprint of that kind of hardscape area is part of this proposal. I mean, that is the back of the building, comes up onto that terraced area, and that's where I would expect whatever remains there, we would, through landscape design and buffering, create some additional vegetation and use that for screening.
Okay. So when you come in to see us next time, will you have an architectural landscape plan there, or by the time we're working through the review process with you, will you have something for us?
That would be our intent, yes.
Okay.
It would.
That would be great. I think it's a real enhancer for the property, whatever you do back there, and for the residents on that street. I think it's, based on what's there now and what could be there, it could be a lot better. Can you talk a little bit about the parking spaces here and some of the diagonals that you have carved in here on the off of Bank Ave, and why the numbers of spaces, commercial versus residential? And you've got 8 units, so I'm thinking 8 times 2, you need 16, is that right?
We need 8. They're one-bedroom units.
So
We accommodate all of our parking within the building.
Okay, so why so many spaces cut in here?
Well, we're accommodating the existing units in 105 are accommodated on the site. The commercial spaces, per the multiplier, we satisfy that. We have, I think, 4 or 5 additional parking spaces, which guest parking and overflow, which I think, following some of the history in downtown, having a little extra parking isn't a bad thing. I think we thought it was helpful to have the additional parking.
This is not for our commission, but I'm just wondering about these diagonals pulling in and out of, Bank Ave and,
Well, they don't pull in and out of Bank Ave. They come onto the property that I currently own. They stay within the boundaries of my property.
Hans, this is a one-way loop, so that, and it's pretty generous in terms of maneuvering vehicles, but because they're exiting here, and there's a grade change,
this works well with the grades. We got to keep that 4% slope within the parking. But that's the natural flow of these cars, so the diagonal is...
Yeah, I'm just wondering, backing out of those spaces there.
Well, they wouldn't back onto Bank Ave, they'd back like this. Bank Ave is here. Bank Ave is here, so they're on our property.
So you think you're at the fewest number of spaces that you can have right now?
I mean, we satisfy the bylaw, and again, I think what we were thinking is having some guest overflow parking wouldn't be a bad idea. You know, it's important, I think, to go back to how this has evolved. We have been very responsive and considerate of the abutting properties. We've pulled this building forward substantially, creating this open space. 2/3 of the parcel would remain effectively open space. And we have the ability to get parking in the back of the building. It's a commercially zoned parcel, you know, so in terms of coverage and whatnot. So what we've created here is to keep all of the parking, the pedestrian, the vehicular, all the access oriented towards North Street, and keeping it, you know, relatively preserved in the back of the parcel, which would abut the neighbors. So in terms of, again, parking, we're pretty much working with the existing asphalt that's out there. That would probably be the only area of any increased asphalt. And, you know, we're going to go through the planning board process, and I think there, in terms of drainage calculations and whatnot, and I think we'll certainly deal with what they would like to see from the number of parking spaces, but I think it's a comfortable number, and I think that, as Sevi had pointed out, there's good flow, there's good separation, and it seems to work pretty nicely.
Last question for me, how many commercial spaces are you going to have?
When you say space, you mean, are we on parking or actual footprint of?
Just
Stores?
Just stores.
It's showing 1,750 square feet. I would envision that as one space right now. That's would be my expectations. I would think one storefront. Yeah.
Are the residential units to be rented or condominium?
The intent right now is for sale, for condominium, right?
Any comments on the architectural features, design of the building at this point?
I think I need to get an understanding, you know, after going out there, of what the scale of this new structure is in relationship to the unit, the smaller structures across the street, and just that area in the general context, how this fits in, because this is certainly bigger than those. It's not to say that's a bad thing, but there's some relationship, I think, that needs to happen between the two.
Okay.
Like a site visit will.
You know, we can show that in sections. I mean, obviously, it's bigger. But the ridge, essentially what faces those houses is 2 stories. And that ridge is from the lower level, 38 feet. From the upper level that faces the Bank Ave houses is 26 feet.
Although part of that drops down, right? It's not all...
Drops down, it drops away.
Yeah.
Correct. But it's also, you know, 40 feet from those houses, so it's a considerable distance, and it's opportunity for buffering.
Do you have this drawing staked out right now?
No.
Property?
No, we could.
Come out to see it?
That would be really helpful. I went on the lot, and I can't imagine it, but to see it that way would be helpful.
Can I just, and I want to follow up a little bit on that comment, and again, I think it's important. We've been working on this for a while, and I'm looking at, I'm in the business of land use and zoning and whatnot. The piece of land is zoned commercial. It's zoned with 0 setback requirements, and again, this is the town zoning bylaw. There are 0 setback requirements. there are no coverage requirements in the commercial zone. There's no stated height restriction. We've really dramatically scaled back what we're proposing on the site to accommodate the abutters and to accommodate comments from the other boards. By right, a commercial building could be built on this property, by right, with zero setback requirements. It's not meant to be threatening, it's just saying we've worked very hard to really mitigate the concerns of the abutters and to bring about, it's a transitional piece of land. It's not right out on North Street. It sits between a commercial district and a residential district, and I think what we're proposing is definitely in scale, and it's definitely keeps with kind of that transitional zone. I just wanted to let, because really the zoning for this property is commercial, and it seems that a mixed use of this scale is what is appropriate for it. And I think Sevi has represented it very nicely in the architecturals, and our team, John Cavanaugh with Cavanaugh Consulting, we've worked for 6 months now trying to get to a point where I think we have a project and a proposal here that really does work fully within the spirit of the bylaw, and it's very accommodating to the abutters in the downtown district.
What's the square footage of the building in front?
The total square footage of the building out front? Sevi, do you know that off the top yet?
How about the footprint?
The footprint is, you're looking at about 89, this is a 90-foot building that scales at probably 75 to 80 feet wide. At the deepest point, it's probably 60 feet, 70 feet. This building is 55. So it's generally in character with the footprint of the building out front.
This is bigger, but it's certainly...
Don't forget the microphone, gentlemen.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. It's larger, but it's connected to it. It really is the same kind of footprint. So, I mean, we can give you those numbers, but
Yeah.
it's not about the numbers, it's about the relationship.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful,
Sure.
because the
Good.
Bank Avenue homes are certainly smaller, as Mike's pointed out, but
Sure.
that might be the best one that you want to use in your favor as a comparison. So those numbers would be good, handy to have, I think. I will say, I mean, I went to the planning board meeting, a few months back when you guys had your first plan. You've come a long way. There's no question. I mean, you've come a long way. I mean, this has been the original design was substantially larger, and the numbers show it. So I hear what you're saying, Joe.
As it relates to the new construction in the back to the front, would it be possible to see this in a model as well? So have a model of the front building as well as the new building in the back and the immediate adjacent buildings?
Sure. Sevi? A model? Would you be able to have one?
I could find someone who could do it for you.
I think the answer is we could provide a model,
Sure,
yes.
we could do that.
I think one thing is to stake it out, but another thing is to actually, in this case, see it in a model as it relates to the immediate adjacent buildings.
Yeah, I mean, would story poles help in this case? We could ask for that at some point. The model...
More appropriate. That might be more appropriate, just because, I mean, I don't think we need to do a model of all of Bank Ave and all the adjacent houses, which is really, but I think standing there with story poles, and where you actually, I mean, we could easily do a model of those two buildings, but is that really going to satisfy you compared to story poles?
I think...
And the grades.
I think for the neighbors and for us, if there was a way to show this ridge going this parallel to Bank Ave, get the height on that, and then maybe this, this front facade somehow, it might be a good visual for everyone in the neighborhood.
So story poles.
Yeah, I think you got something similar to a model, and that overhead, I think it's the last one you have lower, yeah. I mean, that, way down, I think it's behind there, yeah. Yeah, right there, yeah. Is that the most recent, no, the third one down?
This is the most recent. The third one is,
These were all prior
Yeah, okay.
iterations.
yeah, this was, the fourth was the one, the large rendering, and this is the fifth.
Would something like that help in terms of a visual, if they were to do an updated one?
So you think we're talking about this
Yeah.
representation?
I mean, that's more of a artist rendering. I don't say it's not totally accurate, but it's not a measured drawing.
Okay.
And I think this is actually more accurate in terms of, I mean, I think any of those look pretty good, frankly. It doesn't really help you compare them.
So we provide story poles for sure, and, you know, we get the footprint of the building staked out and get story poles there. And, you know, I don't know if we do it in advance of the full meeting or just after, but, you know, happy to have a site visit to go over that.
So, yeah, we could come out on a Saturday before the next meeting. If you can get them up, great. It would certainly give us something to talk about at the next meeting when you come in. Are you meeting with the planning board or zoning board?
Not until January.
Until January?
We have delayed and asked for postponement until we have some direction from this board.
Okay, all right. Can everyone come back next month for questions and take a look at the story polls? And the site visit, when we go out there, will be an open meeting, so everybody's welcome to attend that. You ask questions and see what's there, and then you're all welcome to come back next time. And then we'll take all the questions. The floor is open. Hopefully that works. Any more questions here?
Have we decided, Thomas, are you okay with the story poles and staking it out?
I think for now, I'm okay with the story poles. I think we should start with the story poles. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, if there are more questions later, then we can ask for that.
Right.
So you want to find a Saturday that?
Yes, shall I, yeah, I'll just work with you to determine a date that you think would work in terms of being able to, our meeting is on the 13th, so it would have to be one of the Saturdays before that, depending on when you think you can get those story poles erected.
Sure. December 13th is
Yes.
our formal meeting. Right.
That would be the first formal meeting.
Good. Right.
Good.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Any business, Andrea?
No, the only other business, and I was remiss at the beginning, is to say that Mac is moving to Falmouth, and so he's got a new job in Falmouth, so we're gonna miss him.
Yep.
These were all the new ones?
Yep. Yep.
So that's it, that's all I have.
Okay. I'd like to conclude the Historic Districts Commission meeting for this evening. Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.